Oh, welcome back, Devils fans. It is your host, Ace, here on Running with the Devils, where we are talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Please hit that subscribe button, smash the like, share with a friend. Thank you very much. And there is so much to talk about for this New Jersey Devils team. Oh, boy, there is so much. What a news day. In Devilland. I had looked forward to a night off of rest and not using mental energy or bandwidth on this club. But unfortunately, with the day's events, there are no off nights this time of year. And so cheers to all you guys. The medication, the absolute medication to ease the pain, to numb the misery. Cheers to all you guys. There's so much to get into, but I'm more of a tequila guy now than Jack, but I got to reload on the tequila. First topic at hand. It seems like Sheldon Keefe is being heavily debated in Devils circles and online. Lots of narratives flying around surrounding Keefe. Some people don't blame him. Some people think he's the worst coach ever. There's kind of some people in the middle. And so I will say, I said this last night as well, last night's post-game press conference with Sheldon Keefe was very telling in my opinion. And a lot of you probably did not see it for whatever reason. And so courtesy of the New Jersey Devils, I want to start this off by, because this is a good segue here. I want to start with reviewing the Sheldon Keefe post-game press conference after last night, that horrible shutout loss against, the Columbus Blue Jackets. And so lots to get to here. Obviously, the trade fits, the thing with Jack. We got a lot, but I want to start with Keefe because I think this is very important. And we start with Sheldon Keefe's post-game press conference from last night, which, pay attention, there's a lot of little nuggets in here. We go to Kiefer.
We had a couple of sequences in the second period I'd like back, but through two periods we're fine. Markey made some saves. We just wilt in the third period. We just wilt. That's really it. It's just not good enough.
I know you're searching for answers, but wilting, is that a confidence thing? Is it a, frustration?
It's partially confident. It's partially mental toughness. We're not mentally tough enough. Clearly, these are critical moments in our season. I go back to Ottawa, same thing. Critical moments. You gotta, you can show what we're capable of in the first period. Guys stick to a plan. We're right there. We give up 3 shots on goal. Got to be able to make a play to get a lead. You don't? Okay. You're going to hang around. Well, you got to find a way to make a play. Get yourself a lead. Get it going. Well, okay, you don't. Don't wilt. You got to stay with it. It's, you got to get it there. Get to overtime. Get the extra point. Whether it's, I said it a lot last season, and it's shown up again. Just whether it's mental toughness and conditioning, physical toughness and conditioning, we're wilting in these situations, and that's just, it's not a good sign.
You talk about, creating those plays. You got to make a play. That's it. What through the process, do you need to see more of from your...
The player's got to make a play. I can think of a couple of sequences here tonight. Nemo one time comes with a punch of speed, wheels the net, gains the middle of the ice, carries the puck to the neutral zone, gains the entry, makes a play, we get a good shot. Start of the third period, Lenny takes the puck, makes a move, lowers his shoulder, takes it across the crease, attacks the net, gets a scoring chance, draws a penalty. Those are plays. We just don't have enough of those. Our guys are not taking advantage of the puck time that we have. Individually, collectively, as a coach, we got to do more. We got to do better to help them, clearly, but got to find a way to make these plays. These guys are capable of it, and we haven't been doing it. Really haven't been doing it for much of the season. So, we need more of that. And if you're not going to do it, man, you got to be tough and you got to grind and you got to give yourself every opportunity. And we're able to do it, just haven't been able to sustain it. And that's why we're at where we are.
Is mental toughness the same thing as understanding the urgency, or are those maybe two different things?
Well, like it's, I
hand
think
in
our
hand,
guys,
maybe?
our guys understand the urgency. They're not like they know what's going on, but it's things get hard. The other teams, you know, they're right there, and they want the points too. So things go up a notch, and we don't get there, and we haven't gotten there. You know, in these games, like I said, show we're capable of. We're controlling the game. We're not giving the opposition much of anything. Got to make a play. Give yourself the lead. When you get the lead, we're a good team. Just haven't had enough.
Sheldon, as you stand here and sound frustrated about the results and everything like that, and trying to find answers, are you considering any sort of major shakeups, be that staff changes, tweak to the system, anything like that?
Like I just sort of described to you, I mean, you guys don't come to many practices, but you come to practices, and when you do come, I think you can see what we practice. Practicing our rush play, we're practicing on man rushes, we're practicing, executing and scoring and doing all these things. I don't believe it's a system issue, not even for a second. I mean, I've been coaching for 20 years. I think anybody who's ever played for me or coached with me on my staff knows how I see the game and what I look for and what I like and our players and our team. So, I mean, I our players got to step up here. We're putting together a plan, and the guys are buying in, and we're right there in games. We're giving ourselves a chance. 3 shots on goal tonight against in the first period. We've done a good job. We're there. Got to make some plays. Get power plays. Like, you can talk about, like coaching or structure or a system. That's not the way the league works. You set up a plan. You have a scheme. The players make plays. And we haven't had enough of that. And we've had too many guys, and that's on me to get them going, get their confidence. But we also just we gotta step up here. I mean, I just described it. 2 plays standing out in my head. It's the youngest player on our team on defense, and Lenny just got here from the American League. But these are the guys that are making plays, and we need more of that. And we also need to stay with it. I mean, I don't like the play Nemo makes in the third period that ends up leading to the second goal. I mean, that's little things like that. Just got to stay with it. But like you're looking at what we've done in these last couple of games that are very, very meaningful games. Like, we're right there with everything we want to do in terms of controlling the play, limiting the opposition's chances. Power play or 5-on-5, got to make a play. It's as simple as that. Can't win otherwise.
Sheldon, you mentioned Lenny making plays. You said Nemo before, but are you feeling like you need more from your top guys?
Yeah, I mean, those guys need to make plays. They're getting the minutes. Those guys, they gotta make a difference, and they know this. I'm not saying that they don't know. They feel it. They know it, but that's just the reality. That's where it's at. Probably our 2 best at their positions, 2 best offensive play drivers in terms of Luke and Jack are not in. So other guys, you got to find a way. We just need more of it. It's one thing to control the play, keep the chances against down, don't give the opposition the opportunity to take control of the game. We've done that well. The guys have bought into that and done a good job. But in order to get points, you got to find a way to connect on some passes. You got to execute, and we just haven't done that nearly well enough. You look at the second goal against today. You just go back and look at our play with the puck. Never mind the defending. Just watch our play with the puck. That's not NHL caliber.
And I know there's 20-something games here left, but does it feel like the season's slipping away from you?
Well, it's been like that for a while. I mean, we recognize that's what I'm talking about. That's why I'm talking in the way that I am, because the moments are so big for us, and we're right there in terms of setting ourselves up for it, but. We got to make a step. I mean, clearly, we have a long way to go. We have too many guys that are, don't have the confidence and haven't been making the plays. Too many guys at once. But we still got to find a way to grow inside of this. Like I just talked about how we handle the third period here. Like that's a mental toughness thing, man. Like the game gets a little bit harder. The other team squeezes it, pushes a little bit more. You can't just fall apart like that. You gotta be able to dig in a little bit more and find another level in those critical moments. That's a development thing, that we gotta work through, and it's not on the ice. That's not a practice thing. That's mental. That's competitiveness. It's a decision.
Thank you, Sheldon.
Yeah, thanks.
A lot was said there. So for me personally, when I watch that, I am seeing a man that is just completely fed up with a team not executing, not listening, a team that is mentally soft, physically soft. The roster construction is poor, as he's well aware. He's forced to play several AHL players every night. And I see a man that is just completely frustrated at every level. You know, he was asked about his system. He kind of bit back there. But when you really break down what he said, you know, it's just not mentally tough enough, right? We've talked about this all season long. The team cannot handle adversity. When things are not looking great, they wilt and die. He actually said, we can't wilt. We got to stay with it. As soon as they get down, you see the faces, you see the body language, dejection. No one steps up. It's like they go into this shell and absolutely die. He said, not making enough plays, you know, to his credit. And a lot of people are going to still blame him because, you know, it's easier to blame the coach than the underperforming players. You got to be tough and be able to grind and make plays. The players are playing the game. You could only do so much as a coach, period. The guys are not making plays. They're not mentally tough, which he straight up said. And he's frustrated, and he has every right to be. I mean, he was probably sold a bill of goods to come here. He's had a terrible roster for most of the time. Again, 3 or 4 AHL forwards for most of the time. And big guns that are not getting it done. They're just not making plays. I don't know what you want from this man, but let me, you know, go down here. Novo had asked him about potential staff changes or tweaks to the system. He got a little defensive about that. You know, and I understand why. You know, people are talking smack on this man. He's made the playoffs every single place he's ever coached, and he won the Calder Cup in the AHL. The AHL is equivalent of the Stanley Cup with the Toronto Marlies. Obviously, it's different, but the, you know, ability is clearly there. He's never missed the playoffs at any level he's ever coached. There's something to be said for that. You could try to discredit all you want, but that certainly means something. And then he talked about Nemo and Lenny making the best plays of the game and referred to kind of an indirect kind of shot at the big guns that 2 of your youngest players and kind of rookies still. I mean, Nemo's not a true rookie, but a young player and a guy that just got here a couple weeks ago as the 2 guys, Nemo and Lenny, that were making the best plays of the game. I mean, whenever that's the case with the other guys that played last night, that is a massive problem. When 2 of your youngest, most inexperienced guys are the ones making the best plays, you got a real problem. And then someone asked, do you need more from your top guys? And he was like offended, because it's an obvious yes. He said they're getting the minutes. They need to make the plays. They know this. This is no surprise. And obviously the guys are aware they're all having bad seasons, and they are a big part of the reason why this team is on the outside looking in. He brought up mental toughness again and how they fall apart. And then multiple references to, you know, compete level. It's a competitive thing. And this is something that we've talked about a million times as well. This team has no compete. Most of these guys have no drive and will to win. When you watch these games, you're like, where is the fight? Where's the heart? Non-existent. And I'm sure he's tired of watching it. Again, this comes on the heels of a few weeks back. I think it was after the embarrassing Toronto loss. He said, we need guys to have some balls. And so now in a more kind of gloves off situation where I guess he probably is well aware that we are not making the playoffs. And last night was kind of the final bullet there. He let it fly a little bit and he ripped into the players. And I do believe it's completely justified. This team has no compete. They wither and die. He's seeing the same things that many of us see, and he's frustrated, and rightfully so. Anytime you have a team like that with the guys we have and they're just dogging it and mailing it in, I'm sorry, but I am not blaming him whatsoever. I do blame Fitz rather, for failing to bring in the right complementary pieces. I've talked about this a million times before, but I do believe this core once upon a time could have done some damage in the playoffs if they were insulated and surrounded with the right types of players, guys with high compete levels, a little more physical, a little nasty, more of those heavier, edgier, more violent guys that could actually play at a high level and produce offensively. Those guys never came, and this group is what they are. And I think Keefe has finally kind of hit his breaking point where he realizes he's been strapped with a pretty poor roster overall, and the guys that you're supposed to have hope in are not getting it done. And so for me personally, I've defended this guy. I will continue to defend him. Am I going to say he's completely blameless? Absolutely not. By default, anytime a team is struggling this much, you have to give at least a little blame to the head coach. But I am giving him the tiniest of blame here because I do believe Fitz, it all circles back to Fitz. He's fostered this country club environment, loser mentality, participation trophy shit that comes from Fitz. Then you have the roster being what it is. And then you have the top guys just disappearing. We have a kid that cut his finger off. I mean, this has turned into a full-blown circus season. But I was on X. If you're not following me on X, follow your boy on X. It's, let me drop the, before I start pulling some of this stuff up. But I did see a very interesting tweet. But follow me on X. I'm dropping the link in the chat there. I saw a very interesting tweet this morning, which kind of summed up, I guess some people want to see more stats stuff. I mean, I could just, I don't need personally the stats, but I guess for some people it is a little eye-opening. And so we'll pull it up here. This is from Gianni NJD, Devils fan, pretty active on X, it seems. Maple Leafs goal ranks under Keefe. The 19-20 season, they were second in the league. 2021, they were sixth. 21-22, they were second. 22-23, they were ninth. And 23-24, they were second. So if you average that up, that's what, 11, 13, 19, 21 over 5. They basically averaged about fourth overall in the league if you average those all up. I would say pretty damn good offensive stretch there for 5 seasons. You averaged around fourth in the entire league. Pretty damn good in my book. And then Gianni goes on to say, Sheldon Keefe has also never missed the playoffs as a coach at any level of his career, which I just mentioned. You cannot discredit that. He is not the problem. He is trying to coach a shit roster. Well done, Gianni. Well done. Playing full lines worth of guys that would be in the AHL on other teams is not a recipe for winning hockey. No matter what coach was here, you cannot get blood from a stone. When your roster is that limited, and again, the guys that are good on paper are not performing, this is where you get to. And I could not agree with this gentleman more. I think this sums it up nicely. I do think, despite people not wanting to believe it, this is a bigger indictment on a bunch of players that don't give a shit, guys. And I'm sorry to say, and for all the people like, oh, it's all Keefe's fault, da-da-da. Let me remind you guys, I will remind you, in addition to Keefe's winning pedigree of making the playoffs everywhere he's ever coached, in addition to the goal stats for the Maple Leafs while he was the coach, let's rewind to all of last season when Sheldon Keefe was the coach of this same New Jersey Devils club. Few different pieces, but this New Jersey Devils team, and we look at the stats of Jesper Bratt. This is Jesper Bratt's stats, and what do you know? During the 24-25 season, Jesper Bratt, career high. Let me repeat that. Last season, Jesper Bratt with a career high 88 points in 81 games played under head coach Sheldon Keefe. A career high for Bratter. No one was saying anything about the system then. No one was saying it's Keefe's fault then, right? When Brad had a career year, everything was sunshine and rainbows. And then we go to Nico Hischier. What do you know? Nico Hischier, last year, 24-25, under Sheldon Keefe, had a career high with 35 goals. 35 goals. No one was saying anything about Keefe's system then, right? Nico Hischier, a career high 35 goals. And so when you look at the preponderance of the evidence, which there's a lot, Keefe making the playoffs everywhere. These players can't say the same. So you could say whatever you want, that Keefe's never won this and that. He's certainly won a lot more than the players have. Undeniably so. If you're going with Bratter and Nico, they've made the playoffs a whopping 3 times in a decade-long career. And Sheldon Keefe has been in the playoffs everywhere he's ever went. So if we're just talking about, granted, no one ever won the big prize. Keefe did win the Calder Cup, as I mentioned, but that's not the, that's obviously not the Stanley Cup. But if we're just comparing at that level, Sheldon Keefe certainly has a more consistent history than this core does. And so for people to have the audacity to try, and again, I'm not saying he's completely blameless, but in terms of being the reason, the target, to try to scapegoat another coach and make Sheldon Keefe fall on the sword for this underperforming group is absolutely pathetic and misguided. You people need to come to the realization, and I hate to be the one to break this news to you, because again, I love these guys. They are nowhere near as good as you've been conditioned to believe. That is the cold, hard truth. I had hope in this core. Once upon a time, I thought they could be the nucleus of a Stanley Cup contending team. Spoiler alert, they are not. Now, some of them absolutely could be, whether it's here or somewhere else. They could be nice pieces on a cup contending team. But as a group together, as it stands today, barring somehow making big additions on top of these guys being here, with the cap constraints, there's no way it can happen. They are never going to get it done. We have seen what they are. They're all having awful down years, and to blame Sheldon Keefe is honestly pathetic. And as I've said before plenty of times, people rather blame a coach and think that it's an easy fix and that the coach, this one man, is the problem, then to come to the realization that these players they worship and whatever else just aren't as good as you thought they were. And that is where we are right now. There's going to be a moment of enlightenment for some people when they come around and realize that that is the case. So you could blame Keefe all you want. And again, am I going to say he's completely blameless? Absolutely not. But he is just such a small part of the problem. It starts with Fitz, with his inactivity, budget fixes, keeping his hands in his pockets and hoping and wishing, all of that, failing to identify the proper guys to bring in around them. And so when people try to make Keefe the main issue with this team, I have a problem with that because these guys have shown who they are with other coaches, and no one was saying anything about Keefe last year when these guys were putting up great numbers. Jesper Bratt had a career high in points. Nico Hischier had a career high in goals. Keefe was never a problem then. So people need to wake up to the reality that these guys are just not as good as we all thought. And myself included. They are not as good as we all thought. And the Keefe chatter is going to continue. It obviously is part of the business. Anytime you have a team struggling like this that is vastly underperforming the expectations, this is going to happen. But I could not disagree with those people looking to hang Keefe more. This core they're coach killers, essentially. They are absolute coach killers. And I think that's all I have to say about Keefe. Let me just double check here. Do I have anything else? Yeah, to scapegoat another coach for these guys that can't get it done, I think is pathetic. But it is what it is, folks. I mean, people are going to have their own opinions. I certainly will have mine. And my mind will not be changed. We've seen who this group is. And that's it. Moving on from Keefe, we start the day with some news I really genuinely was hoping we would not see. I really hope we were not going to see this. And here it is. Courtesy of Amanda Stein this afternoon. First, she said, the first tweet said, Jack Hughes will not play tomorrow for the Devils. Medical staff not comfortable enough for him to play. And then she followed it up later with a longer explanation and said, Jack is just not improved enough to the point that our medical team will let him out there. He's not going to be available tomorrow. They say he's in the day-to-day category, and we don't have a lot of days left here. New Jersey Devils head coach Sheldon Keefe. And my God, that was the last thing I wanted to read at any point today. I assumed foolishly from when he got hurt and first missed the Senators game, I thought for sure he would play in either both the Jackets and the Islanders game upcoming tomorrow, or at least just the Islanders game. Obviously didn't play last night. We get the news today that he's not playing tomorrow, and the certain pockets of the internet, and I would say it's a good amount of people, were kind of already foaming at the mouth regarding, Jack Hughes sitting out Devils games and then obviously going to play for Team USA in the Olympics in Italy. And I think there's a lot of layers to this. This is also coming off the heels of a very brief interview. I'm not going to, in the interest of time, I'm not going to show that, but I'll just briefly talk about it for a second here. A brief interview at the beginning of Sweep the Deck. Novo posted an interview where someone had asked, what do you have to say to Devils fans about the season and blah, blah, blah. And he started it off by saying, I have nothing to say to them. And then people kind of just clipped it there and ran with it. I don't think it was a great statement by him, but he did go on to say some more stuff afterwards, which I think made it slightly better, but even the full context, he said, it's on us as a group and all these things. But it was clipped. It did go viral. It was picked up by lots of national hockey media outlets, and the optics of it are pretty bad, I have to say. Listen, I've for a while, for a very long time, have wanted to love Jack Hughes. That is, this is the kid, amazing talent, very skilled. This is the face of the franchise. This is the guy they're pushing. And for a while, I have wrestled internally with really trying to embrace him, despite the fact that I am an old school fan, and the types of players I grew up watching, the types of players I grew up, as my favorite players, are the complete opposites of Jack Hughes. And yes, you do need these skill finesse guys on your team to build a winner. You definitely need some of these guys to get it done. But I grew up watching just a completely different species of hockey player. And so for me, I automatically gravitate towards those types of players, and those are always my favorites. I do believe still to this day, while the game has changed, that fundamentally you need some absolute warrior dogs on your team to be a competitive team, to go on long Stanley Cup runs, to eventually win a Stanley Cup. I firmly believe that. No one will ever change my mind. Again, look no further than the Florida Panthers, back-to-back Cup champs, went to the Cup Finals 3 times. They certainly have skill, but they certainly have nastiness, snarl, sandpaper. They have a beautiful blend of it. Zito has done a phenomenal job there assembling that team, and it started with the foundational kind of shake-up type trades that we often talk about that Lou would make that Fitzgerald has never been able to execute as of yet, trading away a big piece to shake it up, and literally the fortunes of the Florida Panthers franchise were drastically changed once Matthew Tkachuk got there. And so those are the types of players I personally gravitate towards. All of you know, or many of you know, that my favorite non-New Jersey Devils player in the league is Brady Tkachuk, for the way he plays, for his just overall demeanor, what he'll do. He'll drag guys into the battle. He'll do anything he can to win. And for that reason, he is my favorite non-Devil player in the league. But despite all that, I've tried my hardest to truly love this kid. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I never have. Now, I root for him. I like him as a piece of this Devils team. But I truly never could love him in the way that I love some other players, because he is just not the player that I believe should be the face of your franchise and the type of player that is going to bring you to the next level. I think, again, he could be a nice piece on a team, but the way it was all framed, obviously, with the number 1 overall pick, I do think it was a little bit of too much too soon. Everyone kind of anointed this kid as the savior. And again, don't get me wrong, he is a very good player. Very good player, very talented. But to do a little quick recap, obviously his career has been marred by injuries. He only played 1 complete season, which was a shortened season. It wasn't an 82-game season. And so, he's in year 6 or 7 now, I forget. Has never played a full 82-game season because of all the injuries. People knock him for lack of commitment to off-season training and all these things that over time you sit back and a lot of times people are like, oh, they're nitpicking, they're doing this, they're doing that. But now when you sit back and look at the entire picture, you can understand why some people are at their breaking point and they're just over it. Again, injured every single year. Never fully available. And then we finally get to this year. The season starts. Oh, let me rewind. Sorry, I got a little bit ahead of myself. But coming into the season, we see Jack Hughes, the model, right? Jack Hughes, brand deals, campaign. This is, the USA collection for Ralph Lauren. Jack Hughes out here just doing campaigns. And we're just, just tons of this stuff leading into the season. It's like, okay, cool. A player's getting, these deals. Good for him. Get your money, promote the team maybe a little bit in some way. But we see all of this. Okay, this is all good and fine, right? Oh, Jack Hughes is a star. Okay. No, yo, Holmes, but I need to paint the picture because people are just living in denial. So we see all that. Season starts looking pretty good. And then in mid-November, we have this. The infamous Chicago cut. So now we're all hoping this kid is going to finally get through a full season and Chicago cut happens. One of the most bizarre, most unprecedented things, whatever was happening, you could call it a freak accident. We'll never know the real story. Everyone has their theories. I do think the story they put out is kind of nonsensical, but either way, I have to give him some sort of blame in this situation. And we won't know how much, but by default, unless it was truly some completely unavoidable accident, I cannot believe personally for a second that he's completely blameless in the situation. People have crazy theories and all these things, but Chicago cut happens, right? So Chicago cut happens. Okay, fine. We all gasp. They say he's going to be out for 2 months. He comes back a little bit sooner. He's playing with one hand. He's got the mitt on. They're trying to hide it. They're photoshopping the things. All good and fine. He's playing with the oven mitt under his glove. And then shortly, I guess right before he returns, we see, oh, look at this. Jack Hughes is out in the city with Tate McRae. Like, good for him, right? This is all, I have no problem with any of this, but and stay with me here because this is all kind of relevant to the conversation I'm having here. But yeah, we see Jack with Tate McRae, and good for him. I'm not going to hate on this kid for any of this stuff. Go chase pop stars, get your brand deals, do all that. That's all good and fine. But we got one more. I forgot. Well, I got one more. Aside from all that, bear with me. Playing producer as well is not fun. Don't let me forget. Selling Mucinex. So this kid now is all over the place. And again, stay with me. I'm not killing him for all this stuff in a vacuum, but we're chasing brand deals. We're chasing pop star women. We're doing all these things. We're selling Mucinex. All good and fine. But where the issue comes in for a lot of people, and I'm going to say I have a little bit of an issue with it as well, is that you decided, and whether the doctor thing and all of that is true or if it's a smokescreen. A lot of people said from the beginning, like, oh, watch, he's going to rest up for the Olympics. And I didn't think that he would. And to avoid the terrible optics of the whole situation, that's why I firmly believed at a minimum he would play in the Islander game just to kind of eliminate that narrative. Because obviously these, the Devils and him and whoever else he talks to his inner circle, they have to know that this is going to be a narrative, right? Like if you don't play in the last game, you could say whatever you want. And yes, I defended him. Keep in mind, I put out a video, I don't know, 4 or 5 days ago about Jack Hughes going to the Olympics because people started, making noise and talking about this several days ago. And I fully defended him. Mostly because I did believe he was going to play in this Islanders game. But I did say once in a lifetime, yada, yada, he fully should go. Because at that point, people were just saying, oh, despite missing the games, like he should sit out and heal. And I fully defended him. But now with this new news, I do feel slightly different about it. So, we'll never know if this is completely accurate with the training staff and all that. But in the end, you could say it certainly could be the case where, maybe he just said, you know what, maybe it is better for me to be rested up, to be fully healthy for Team USA. And if you are not fully committed to the New Jersey Devils, I have a problem with that. You guys all know. You know the school I went to, Lou Lamoriello. It's all about the crest on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back. And you could say that this does not look like that. What we're seeing right now does not look like that. And in the Devils' 3 biggest games of the season, he was hurt in the Nashville game. So, he tried to come back. He couldn't find. But in the 3 biggest games of the season, he did not play. The Nashville game, and then, which luckily the Devils still found a way to win, and try to keep life support plugged in. But then he did not play against Ottawa, terrible loss, and Columbus, which ended the season. And so you could make the argument, they told us it wasn't that serious. Keefe had said it. Jack tried to come back. So these are all indications that whatever this injury was with his foot or lower body injury, it wasn't that serious, and he tried to come back. So I will say many players would have played through that. Whatever it was, if you truly cared about your team, you would try to gut it out. Now, every player has a different threshold of pain and whatever else, but the optics of the situation certainly do not look great, given everything we know. And on top of just needing the Devils to win and not being there in our darkest hour when we needed whoever we could have, right? We need to win the game. Obviously, we're a better team with him. But aside from that, for the young man that famously said, people pay to see me play, I would say it's a little bit of a slap in the face to the fans, because let's be honest, how many people maybe only go to one or two games a year, and for whatever reason with their calendar, kids' schedules, whatever it is, may have picked that Columbus game or the Islanders game tomorrow night, may have picked one of those two games as their only game of the year to attend. And so now people are paying to see him play, and he knows it because he told us. People are paying to see him play, and he is sitting out the game. He's sitting out the game. I have to believe if he truly wanted to, he would be able to gut through it and, give it a go for whatever reason, whether it's, self-preservation for the Olympics, whatever else. I do think it's a very bad look in conjunction with all these other things. And the question remains for me is, are you fully dedicated to winning with the New Jersey Devils? Because as of right now, listen, I'm not giving up on him, and he is only 24. Hopefully he matures if he's still here and all of these things. But the optics are not good. You have to know the optics are not good. And I don't think anybody can deny that. I just can't. He's going to be on the ice in a few days, granted not for a game, but in a few days for practices with USA. I don't know. I personally am rubbed the wrong way by it in conjunction with all the other stuff. There are people that are like super ripping him apart, and I'm not that extreme, but I do think it is a little bit of an indictment on your character and your will to win and your commitment to the team if you sat these games out, where I do believe you probably could have played at least tomorrow. And for all the poor people that paid money to see him play that will not see him play, I do think it is a little bit of a shame, and it is disappointing for those folks that did buy tickets hoping to see Jack. And it's unfortunate. And now I will share a clip that I thought was very interesting on and I'll get to all the comments, but I got to continue on. I still have a bunch of stuff to go over, but I'll eventually get to your comments here. A clip from Pierre Maguire on the Sick podcast. There is a gentleman on X by the name of Mr. White. He's definitely an extremist, but fundamentally, I agree with a lot of the same principles that he does. And again, he is an extremist. He's very down on the Hughes. I'm not, to his level with all that stuff, but he definitely believes in old school principles, that it is about the crest on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back. He believes in physicality. He believes in warriors. He believes in all of this stuff. NJ viewer, I'll get to your comment. I have to. I'm sorry, buddy, but if he could play for the Team USA in a few days, and he tried to come back the other game, I don't believe that that he really couldn't play. I'm sorry, I'm not going to believe it. And like I said, it's not just this incident. It's in conjunction with all the other distractions and all the other things. The comments, there's a lot there, and so you could live in denial. But I'll get to all the comments. I gotta continue on here. But Mr. White, so he believes in physicality, a lot of the same principles. I don't agree with a lot of his extreme takes. He's very extreme. But fundamentally, I believe a lot of the same stuff as he does. And he had put a question in a chat in Pierre Maguire, the Sick podcast. So I'm going to show this quick clip. This is courtesy of the Sick podcast with Pierre Maguire. This was Mr. White. Many of you are probably familiar, putting this question in their chat, which they answered a few days ago.
Mr. White again. Is New Jersey in trouble with Jack Hughes? They sink or swim with him despite having elite talent on the roster. It feels like everything revolves around number 86.
So this is one of those summers, Mr. White, where as whomever the coaching staff and the management team are, and I'm going to say that it stay the same, you go away with the player. You go somewhere in the woods, not a golf trip, not a sailing trip. You go in the woods. I'm telling you.
The woods. This is getting scary here.
And you go to a cabin somewhere and you talk. And here's what we love about you. Here's where we think you can be better. And here's where we know you better be better.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those hard conversations we've talked. Sometimes you got to do that. And I'm never going to tell you the players I had to do that with or been around when we've done it as a staff, but you got to do that.
All right. Next question. We got any more? Yep. David Robinson. What's up, Dave?
So to be clear, I'm not hating on the kid, but I'm explaining to those that are living in complete denial that there is a little something here. When you look at all the things, commitment to the organization certainly can be questioned. Now, does it mean it's true? No, but there is a lot of smoke there. And for people to, perpetually put their hands over their ears and say these people are crazy, the fundamental reasons for their insanity or hate fuel, whatever you want to call it, are there. And I wish he had some more self-awareness to be a little better with the media. And again, I think it comes from indifference and honestly not caring how he comes across. I don't know, but the interview wasn't great. It wasn't as bad as a lot of people made it out to be, but it was not great at all. And people ran wild with that. You have to realize we're living in a sensationalistic world where you serve up juicy stuff like that, people are going to run with it. And so I am defending him to some extent with some of the stuff, but I try to be fair all the time. And the people are not completely out of bounds to question the dedication and commitment to win. I do not think that it's that crazy, because I'm sorry. I believe that if he really wanted to play these games, that he would. Now, another layer to this whole thing is the fact that the Devils are pretty much dead. So now going into tomorrow's game, had we won one of the past two or both of them, would that change things? Perhaps it would. If the game was more important, maybe he would be playing, and that could come into play. It's like, oh, now the season's over for the Devils, so why even bother? That's a whole separate issue, and makes me feel some sort of way. But when you look at all the stuff, there certainly is cause for concern at a minimum. And again, I'm not kicking the kid's back in. I root for him. He is a great player. But when you look at the whole picture with all of this stuff, there are constantly things for people to latch onto and to complain about. And questioning the desire to win for the New Jersey Devils, I think it's a fair question. But I don't know. A lot of people are going to be on both sides of the fence with this. I'm still kind of in the, I try to be fair with all of it. I see both sides, but I do think for the people saying that the criticizers are completely crazy, there is some substance there. There's definitely some substance there. And so if you don't at least want to acknowledge that, I think you're living in denial. But let me get a sip of water here. There's a lot going on. But the optics aren't great. I hope he plays well for USA. I hope they win a gold. Obviously, I'm American. And so, I hope that we see a dominant Jack Hughes in the tournament. And we're going to see. But again, I'm going to get to all your comments. We got the last kind of issue at hand here. The last kind of big news on the day, obviously. Oh, and then lastly on this. On the flip side of the Jack Hughes thing that we're talking about, on the flip side of that, we have the captain, Nico Hischier. Nico Hischier was given the day off from practice. He's still fighting through an illness, needed time off the ice. He's lost close to 10 pounds this week while fighting off whatever had been ailing him. He's available to play for the Devils tomorrow, and it sounds like he will be in. This is a guy who, despite, and again, a lot of people, when a season's going bad, as this season has, people are going to latch on to their personal whipping boys, whether that's the coach, usually a star player, star players, whatever it is. People are going to pick their punching bags, and certainly there's been a fair amount of people who have targeted Nico, for that. But when you see this is a guy who's probably had the flu, whatever the hell he has. The whole state of New Jersey is sick. A lot of you know. This guy has not missed a game, has been fighting an illness, and has lost close to 10 pounds in a week. For a guy that's about 200 pounds, 5% of your body weight, fighting off a virus or an illness is fairly serious, and he gutted it out. He knew his team needed him. He knew they were fighting for their lives. They were trying to keep life support alive, and he had not missed the game, and he's going to play tomorrow, despite the fact that the season's over. That the season is over, he's still going to fight through it and play the game. And so when you just see the dichotomy here of, one guy who is not playing in games, but will be playing in the Olympics, and another guy who's also playing in the Olympics, fighting through an illness, which he lost 10 pounds, I do think that there is a stark difference there. Now, obviously, the flu and whatever, Jack, it's not quite apples to apples. But in the end, you're talking about compromised players, one of them pushing through it at all costs to still play in the games, be available, help their team win, and the other guy who didn't. And so, again, when you look at dedication and, commitment to team and willingness to win, I do think there is a stark difference here, and even within the Devils roster. Okay, now I'm done with all that. Now we move on. Tom Fitzgerald has apparently woken up from his season-long slumber that we all know he likes to do. And folks, I hate to do one of these and pat myself on the back yet again, but for months and months, I have told all of you, and at this point, it's just so predictable. I almost feel dirty taking credit for it, because if you've been paying attention, this was beyond predictable. But the Sprong-esque trade that I told you all was going to happen, it happened today. Here's the Sprong-esque trade. People looking for top six wingers and exciting big splashes. I present to you the Sprong-esque trade that I told you all for months was coming. The headline: Devils acquire Bjugstad. Press release: the New Jersey Devils announced today the team has acquired Nick Bjugstad in a trade with St. Louis in exchange for forward Thomas Bordeleau and a conditional fourth-round pick in the 2026 NHL draft. The pick will be the latest of the 3 fourth-round picks that New Jersey currently owns. The announcement was made by President General Manager Tom Fitzgerald. Bjugstad, who is in his 14th NHL season, has played 35 games at St. Louis this year. The 6'6", and we'll get into this. I do like that. 210-pound forward has won 134 of 262 faceoffs this season and tallied 7 points, 7 points, 6 goals and assists, while his 73 hits ranked 8th on the Blues. And then they go on and on with some more stuff. But this was the too little, too late, Sprong-esque depth move that a lot of you probably thought was coming, that I had told you guys months ago was coming. There it was. Too little, too late. Depth piece. Not going to move the needle for this season. Now, if this had happened in December, I would be slightly happier with it. Again, completely underwhelming, just like all the other moves Fitz has made in season in recent times. Completely underwhelming, but it would definitely have way more of a significance 2 months ago than it does today, where the season is completely over. Similar to the 23-24 season when we drowned because of poor goaltending. Fitz hoped and wished, did nothing all season, got Jake Allen and Kakinen on deadline day when it was too late. This is a very similar move. Bjugstad will be an upgrade at 4C, so the Glendening, Lamico experiment will be over. This is a nice upgrade at 4C. Again, way too late on the season. This season is completely done. He is signed for next year, so great. A fourth line center for next season. This is nothing to get excited about, as they call this a nothing burger. But we look at his stats on the season. The hell's going on here? Bear with me, folks. I hate technology. The thing that I like, obviously, you guys know, I've said this team is completely undersized forever, wants some beef, especially down the middle. I've said for the longtime fans. Give me anyone who remotely resembles Bobby Holik or Jason Arnott. Just give me some big centers. Give me some big, beefy centers. I love size down the middle. We haven't had it in forever, and it's long overdue. And so, again, too little, too late. But this guy, veteran, not too old. To some of you, he will be, retirement home age or possibly funeral home, because a good portion of the fans believe that anyone over the age of 30 is near death. And I've told you guys forever that that is not the case. But 6'6", 210, absolutely love to see the size. We do need it. And again, love it down the middle. 35 games this season, 6 goals and assists for 7 points. Depth player, obviously not going to be lighting up the score sheet. But we just need in the bottom 6 some, guys that can contribute here and there. If you're relying on your bottom 6 to drive the bus, you're already failed. And I do feel like to some extent, a lot of people have been kind of wishing for that this season with the bottom 6 as a result of the top 6 just massively underperforming. But I like the size, not going to, again, change the world or drastically improve the team. But it's nice to see some size added, especially at the center position. And I will gladly take the fourth line center upgrade for next season, but that does nothing for this year. Hold on. So this is all filed under the future is bright. Another season officially down the toilet. But the future is bright, guys. The future is bright. We look at his career. And earlier on in his career, he had some decent production. He had 49 points with the Panthers in 17-18. Then he went to Pittsburgh where, I think he had an injury. He had 14 points in 32 games. Then he went to the Wild. He had 17 points in 44. So again, depth center, not going to shake the world up. 45 points in 23-24 with the Coyotes. Not too shabby, but yeah, a guy that is not going to move the needle either way. And a move that was done far too late this season. If this was a couple months ago, again, there would be nothing to get super excited about, but at least it's something to address the poor center depth that we all have been living through for quite some time now, which quite frankly has been a problem ever since we lost Motor Mike McLeod. Cody Glass, beautiful find for 3C. Love his game, but too little too late for this season, and so great. We have a fourth line center for next season. Let's all just give Tom Fitzgerald his applause, because the future is extremely bright. Extremely bright, and filed under, things to look forward to for next season. Why this couldn't have been done a few months ago, I don't know. How much it would have changed the season? Probably not much, but it would have been something. But here we are. A season over, another nothing kind of move done late in the season. And here we are, guys. I am just completely dejected over the current state of this team. Unfortunately, I do not see any light at the end of the tunnel. I do think there needs to be sweeping changes. We've talked about all this. There needs to be a fresh set of eyes brought in, a new GM who's going to make the tough decisions that Fitz never could, and make that foundational shake-up trade that we are long overdue for. I cannot help but to constantly go back to the teachings of Lou Lamoriello, and you guys know I regurgitate them regularly. It's all about the crest on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back. I do feel like this organization has gotten completely away from that, and it is ran more like a marketing kind of firm than a sports franchise that will try to win at all costs. There's been so many signs that is not the case. That is not the priority. And a once proud franchise right now, unfortunately, is just in complete shambles. Nothing short of complete shambles. To go from a top 6 preseason favorite to win the cup to the basement of the entire league and possibly in the draft lottery conversation, unforgivable sins, unforgivable crimes. It should cost everyone in the front office their job, obviously minus Marty. A lot of you still want Marty gone. I will never be on that wave. And so, yeah, I had to, some of you have commented on this beautiful Scott Stevens jersey. 2000 Cup Finals. I needed to remind myself of the glory years. because we're so far from it right now, and it's just excruciatingly painful. I said a lot here to kick off the program. Appreciate you all for coming out. I know a lot of you are going to flame me. A lot of you will agree with me. That's part of what makes this all fun. And we go diving in the comments, and I'm a little nervous to see what some of these comments are going to be. But let's see. I'll start off a little back. Nick Gallo, thank you for the super. Owners don't care. GM doesn't care. Coach doesn't care. Why should Jack? If the top doesn't care and shows it only on a yearly basis, neither will employees. So owners don't care. I agree with. There's just too many signs. The fact that Fitz is still employed is an open and shut case in and of itself. That is a complete indictment that you don't care. A lot of people thought that Fitz may have been canned following that Islanders 9-0 embarrassment, but that did not happen. And at that point, it was very clear to me, and I talked about this, that if that wasn't the last straw, he's clearly locked in for the rest of the season. And so obviously nothing will happen to him prior to the end of the season. And I do believe once they miss the playoffs, that it is still a 50-50 shot whether he's back or not. I do believe there is a very good chance, even missing the playoffs, that he could be brought back, which would absolutely drive myself, and I know many of you, crazy. We've seen enough. This experiment needs to end as soon as possible. The damage has been done. We've gone absolutely nowhere, and it's a tragic story. The setup that he walked into when he took over here will be studied. With the pieces he had and the cap space and the draft, all of it, it will be studied as one of the greatest squandered opportunities in NHL history. And so I agree the owners don't care. I think Fitz cares. I just think he's very bad at his job. I think he wants to win. He just doesn't know how and cannot identify what he needs to do and the levers he needs to flip to turn this thing around. Unfortunately, he told us that he fostered a country club atmosphere. It hasn't been fixed. He doesn't, what is depth scoring? He told us he doesn't look at the standings. Like, you could make a never-ending kind of blooper reel of his greatest hits, and you would think that they were like AI generated, but no, in fact, he has said all of these things over the past few years. I think he cares. I just think he's bad at his job. And I do believe that Sheldon Keefe does care. I believe Sheldon Keefe definitely cares. I think he's at his breaking point. He's completely frustrated and kind of trapped in a corner now where he constantly has to go out there, face the media, take these bullets, and answer for what is an underachieving core that was supposed to be able to do something and absolutely has failed this year. Once again has failed. And so I do think Keefe cares. Jack, different story. I would like to think that he cares, but as I said before, given all of the things, I'm not saying that it means that he doesn't care, but for the people starting to question it, they're not questioning it for no reason. There is substance there. It is a fair question at this point. It is not just pulled out of thin air. It's not something they came up with on their own or some crazy conspiracy. Like, there's plenty of stuff there for the question to be asked. And so I would like to believe that players don't need that much motivation at this level to want to win, to do anything in their power to win and help their team win. But here we are, another season down the tubes. And credit to Jack. He did gut through, playing with one hand for quite some time when he came back from Chicago cut. But this group has underachieved as a collective once again, and we're not going to the playoffs. And it honestly breaks my heart. I came to grips with that, like I told you guys, over a month ago, maybe even 6 weeks ago, maybe even 2 months ago. I think it was early December. It was probably 2 months ago. But I obviously am going to watch every game. I'm still going to do the live streams with you guys. I still love this team. And I wanted to keep the sliver of hope alive and keep that life support plugged in and just kind of stay in the thick of it and hope to pull off a miracle. But that dream officially died last night. It officially died last night. It's all over. What a damn shame. Before the Super Bowl, the season is over. I can't believe it. Jeter Toker, thank you for the super. Gavin McKenna doesn't fit the Devils analytics model, too edgy and violent. So I saw this story earlier today. Pretty hilarious. Gavin McKenna expected to go, 1 or 2? I think different mock drafts have him going 1 or 2. But Penn State star was at a bar after a game or something with some of his buddies, and his mom was there, and apparently there was somebody talking smack and calling his mother names. And eventually he tuned the guy up. I think he broke his jaw, knocked out his teeth. What do you guys think I'm going to say about this? Team McKenna all day. Talking smack about your mama? Come talk smack about my mom or say stuff to her when I'm around. I'm breaking your jaw, knocking out your teeth too. So obviously, I have no problem with this. If anything, I think I said this on X. If anything, his stock went up in my book. That's a little edge right there. I will take that edge any day. Love to see it. People will disagree, but I do think a lot of teams may be kind of scared off from that. Wouldn't scare me at all. He would have went up or if you didn't have him at number 1 already, he would have shot up my personal draft board because I would love to have some guys that have that kind of edge. And a lot of people are going to frown on it, but don't call his mother names to her face. It's a pretty insane thing to do. And kudos to him for defending his mother's honor. We got NJ Viewer says there are some injuries you can or shouldn't. I don't know what is this in English? Some injuries you can or I guess shouldn't play through. Well, we don't even know what it is, but whatever it is, they told us it's not that serious. And he did attempt to come back in that same game against Nashville. And so it couldn't have been that bad, whatever it was. Whatever it was, I have to believe if he truly wanted to play through it, he could have. Holmes, sounds like the flu I got at the Rock about 2 months ago. Stick Figs, when I saw this tweet, I had a big change of heart toward Nico. I still think the conversations of whether he deserves a C are valid, but Nico can sure as hell stay. Yeah, he's a dedicated guy. People will complain about him with different things, but in the end, his commitment should never be questioned. He's played through some kind of ailments and injuries before, and here he is losing 10 pounds in a week, and he hasn't missed a game and still won't, despite the team being out of it. A lot of guys would be like, oh, you know what? I feel like shit. The season's over. Why am I going to kill myself and go play? Not Nico. He's sure. He's out there and he's going to play, despite the game being essentially meaningless. Official Sergey says Nico getting traded. I'm not so sure about that. That's a whole nother topic, whether he wants to resign here or not. And I told everyone that was a genuine kind of fear of mine a few months ago. And I did say I thought a lot of it will depend on how the team does this year. I do believe he wants to win. And if he doesn't think this is a place that he could truly win a cup in, I could see him telling them, I want to test free agency. And there'll be no shortage of teams that'd be lining up to offer him big deals. And I do think he would thrive on another team where he doesn't have to be the guy. Just like Jack, I think they were both picked number 1 overall. They were super young. They were kind of thrust into the spotlight. They were made the faces of the franchise. He got to see young. And I think there's just been a lot of pressure on his shoulders since he came into the league. And once again, I'll talk about how I don't believe he had proper mentors in this league because they didn't. And I do believe that is crucial to development of these guys, that they were kind of failed by the organization from the very beginning. But here we are, being on another team that has a little more depth with some other big name players where you're not going to be expected to be the guy, I think would be a perfect scenario for him. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's looking to play for a team like that. Kyle says Nico is such an underrated C in this league. Collect records. I'm pulling for him, but we saw a terrible Jack in the Four Nations. Getting hopes up that he's doing anything in Olympic Games against tough opponents isn't happening. I will say, obviously, very underwhelming tournament in Four Nations, but it's all going to come down to line mates and minutes. If he gets the right line mates and gets some good ice time, I don't think anyone can say that he's not a dynamic playmaker. Maybe he's not going to score a million goals, but he is an elite playmaker and can make filthy passes. If he's playing with some real finishers and they get ice time, I am not one of these people that's going to say Jack's going to be invisible. Now, could it happen like Four Nations? It very well could. I'm certainly hoping that's not the case. Again, I'm an American. I'm going to be at the games. For those of you that don't know, I will be in Milan, Italy. Boots on the ground at all the USA games. I'll be bringing you guys footage from outside the arena, inside the arena, warm-ups. You're going to see me stuffing my face with food, walking the streets, seeing the sights. You're going to see all of it if you'd like. There's going to be daily vlogs, tons of stuff. So if you're into that, I will be on the Team USA train in Milan, Italy for the games. One of the only things I have to look forward to in this life, especially with the black thunder clouds that have rolled over this Devil season. But I'm hoping he dominates and he brings it back to the NHL. And now it's going to be in meaningless games, which really, really sucks. It would have been nice to at least be still at least on life support heading into the break and not knowing that the team is completely out of it, but it's over now. Just let it go, guys. It feels a little it's exhilarating to know that it's over now. They've let us down for the final time, but I hope he lights it up. ES Highway, it is very clear that the Hughes brothers destroyed the locker room. You know, I understand the sentiment for all the reasons I brought up. And then obviously, aside from the Chicago cut thing, we don't really know what happened there. I'd imagine that it probably did not sit well with a lot of the veteran players. And then we get to the whole kind of Quinn Hughes fiasco, right? Obviously, the Hughes brothers wanted that to happen badly. It seemed like a foregone conclusion. Fitz had went to Dougie and asked if he'd, you know, waive his no trade to go to a destination. We don't even know what team that was. There was a rumor that San Jose was one of them. But I do think that all of these things, you know, lingering on probably left a bad taste in a lot of the guys' mouths and probably did divide the locker room in some way. We'll never have any proof of any of this, or at least not anytime soon. But, I mean, it's a lot of stuff, right? You know, you have the Chicago cut, however that happened. And then you have the, you know, the complete want and desire for their brother to be brought here and trade. They were probably pushing for it behind closed doors. That didn't happen. And so when you look at all this stuff, and now even sitting out these games before the Olympics, I'm sure there's some guys in that locker room that have played through much worse injuries that are probably like, you know what? Like, I don't know how I feel about this. You know, look at my man, Brett Pesce. This guy's got a freaking zipper on his forehead. And if you haven't seen it, shameless plug for my, let me put the link in the chat for the Sweep the Deck, which is the best Devils event of the year, by the way. I've told you guys plenty of times, you know, Sweep the Deck. It's for charity. It is very expensive. It all benefits the Devils Youth Foundation. They do some great work in the community. But I just dropped the link in the chat. Check out my vlog from that night if you're interested. But I did get a close-up of it and was talking to him for a couple minutes. Brett Pesce has a monster zipper on his head from when he took a face plant on the ice and got tons of stitches. And he missed, like, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes of gameplay and came back and played. And so for a guy like that is putting it all out on the line every single night to kind of see some of these things going on, I have to believe that it probably doesn't sit great with them, if I'm being honest. And so again, I can't say that it's very clear that the Hughes brothers destroyed the locker room in any way, but I do think it is kind of a somewhat rooted in things that had happened question, right? Again, we're not going to know, but this is another thing that's not pulled out of thin air for all the people that, you know, Jack could do no wrong. And I like Jack. Again, I've defended him. I put out a video a couple days ago completely defending him to the Olympics, and I'm still not even fully kicking his back in for this latest kind of thing. But I'm just here to, you know, be fair about it and to tell the people that are very pro-Jack that the anti-Jack crowd does have they've been given ammunition. So you can't completely dismiss it because the ammunition is certainly there. Sunrise Art Cinema, thank you for the super. Jack grew up in a hockey world where he was always told how good he was, and he became very entitled and spoiled in a sense. Not the blue-collar type, who has a completely different experience. I will say, I do firmly agree with this, and I do think it is part of the problem, and it is also part of the reason, as I mentioned earlier, I really wanted to, like, absolutely love him, but I can't force love. It just has to naturally happen, and it's never happened. I like him. I root for him. He's a great player on our team. I wish nothing but the best for him. But in terms of truly love him, I never could. And again, a lot of it starts with the style of play. But some of the other things, he does come off as a little bit arrogant and cocky. And I'll be honest, I don't love that. I don't love that. And if you are going to act that way, you damn well better be great and have accomplished a lot of things. And when he's healthy, he's very good. I'm not going to put him in the top tier with the Connor McDavids and the Sids and the Nathan McKinnons of the world. He's not that tier. Let's be clear. But even if he was, he's still never won anything. And to have that kind of arrogance about you, it definitely rubs me the wrong way, and it rubs other people way worse. Like, I could live with it. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, screw this guy because he comes off like that. It's just kind of, it is what it is, and you kind of get that with the package, and I could live with it, but it does bother me a little bit. It incenses other people. And I do think a lot of it does stem from the fact that He was probably the best player on pretty much every team he's ever played on. Everyone told him how great he was, blah, blah, blah. And I do think, I'm not going to say he's cheated the game, but I do think he's taken shortcuts with some things that, again, probably does not sit well with some other guys in the locker room. Some guys had to scrape and claw to get to where they were, and Jack has kind of had it all on a silver platter. And granted, he is more skilled or has more talent than them, but to be a winner and be a team player, there's a lot more to it than just those things. And I think there's definitely some merit to what you're saying here, Sunrise Art Cinema. I do hope as he gets older, he matures a little bit, and some of these areas get improved. I just want the kid to produce and be part of a winning team and stop getting injured. Like that's my hope for him. You don't need to love every player. His overall kind of demeanor and stuff, like I just said, is just not for me personally as like one of my favorite guys. I could never declare a guy like that my favorite. Like you guys know, because of his style of play and how he is, like Brendan Dillon, salt of the earth dude, throwback legend, will kill you on the ice, nicest guy off the ice, respectful to the media, respectful to the fans. Like he is a complete old school devil. In that vlog clip some of you probably saw, I told him, for me, he's an honorary old school devil and he would have fit in with those groups like a glove. And you can't say that for a lot of, the more current guys. It's all about the crest on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back. And Dilly's one of those guys. But furthermore, in terms of the context of this whole conversation, right? The summer from Jack, this is what we got from Jack. And again, I'm not hating on him for getting brand money. Get your money, go chase pop stars, do all that, but be about your business for your NHL club as well. And that includes the offseason. We haven't seen it thus far, but this was the summer for Jack. And on the flip side, it's going to take me a second. Again, wearing multiple hats here. Bear with me. We have look what we saw from the summer of Nemo. And a lot of people did make a big deal about this in the summer. And again, it was Mr. White and some of those guys. And like I said, I agree with a lot of Mr. White's kind of philosophies and thoughts on the game and a lot of things. I do think he's very extreme. And so we differ in that way. But a lot of people were like, where are the pictures of the Hughes brothers training? And again, I don't need to see pictures like we saw of Nemo, but I want to see the results when you come to training camp. I don't need to see a play-by-play of it like we saw with Nemo. I will say I do enjoy it. I do enjoy seeing the many photos of animalistic training during the summer, because this tells me this kid took his challenge of the offseason of beefing up. He took it very seriously. What do we got here? Little box jumps. The same can't be said for everybody. And again, I don't need to see a play-by-play of it. I certainly enjoy it, but I want to see the results when you come to training camp. And there's probably not many guys on this roster right now that are putting in the work like Shimo Nemitz did this past summer. And if you're being fair about it, it certainly has served him well and probably has at least played a small part, if not a major part, in the breakout season he was having prior to getting injured, obviously, a few weeks ago. I think, he's probably still maybe not 100% from that, but he was having an absolute breakout season on a tear. Hat trick overtime winner, a different overtime winner, a skate-off shootout winner, tied that Islander game up. They ultimately lost in OT, but tied it up late in the third. Like, I don't think there's any coincidence that Nemo went full Rocky Balboa this summer and had a phenomenal start to the season as a result. I don't think that is a coincidence whatsoever. And so I would like to believe that some of these other guys are taking it this serious, but I don't know. I do think, again, back to the country club, there is real underlying issues here where this team is just not doing what you need to do to be a real winner. We got sounds like everyone on this team has given up. B now says it all makes for good podcast drama. Richie, Stamkos goal and assist tonight. This old washed up dog now has 28 goals, 23 in his last 39 games. 7 weeks ago, we could have had this legend. Sayonara to that. Oh, Richie. I wanted Stammer. Myself, you, and maybe one or two other people. And then we were flamed mercilessly by the crowds that, oh, he's washed up, he's old in the retirement home. It would have been that definitely could have had a big impact on the season had we got him 2 months ago. But like Quinn Hughes, that ship is long pulled out of the port, is long gone. We took a nosedive. Nashville kind of got their shit together, and that dream is dead. Titus dream, if I'm a bottom six stud, why would I want to play with Jack, who thinks I am irrelevant? Dude is spoiled, never learned to be a leader, never learned how to gel in adversity. Listen, I do think there's some truths to a lot of these kind of narratives, and it's unfortunate, but what are you doing to kind of break the narrative? I don't think that he cares, honestly. And we know that he's not doing crazy off-season training. Maybe he does some off-season training of some kind, but it is nothing that results in a visible change, if that makes sense. Like, you saw those pictures of Nemo and you're like, holy shit, this kid's huge. This is a physical sport. This is the NHL. You certainly need power and size and strength in this league. This is a man's league. Jungle Static, this is what I don't get. Criticizing Nico is a punching bag, but criticizing Jack is just honest. I don't know. Nico has done nothing, absolutely nothing. He's been bad all season. What are you talking about? I'm not saying criticizing their play. I'm saying when you bring it to, I'm down on everybody. I don't know where you're making it sound like I have this bleeding heart for any of these guys. Just to be clear, I'm the number one guy. I grew up on Lou Lamoriello, folks. The crest on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back. I will trade anybody, including both of these guys and any other name you throw out there. If there is a trade to make this team better, so long. No one is an untouchable in my book, so I'm not really sure what you're trying to get at here. I'm not saying criticizing him as a punching bag, but there's people like making him out to be, the reason that this team is bad. And, there's the extremist is what I'm referring to. I'm all about having honest conversation and discourse about guys struggling and their play, blah, blah, blah. I'm not talking about having honest conversations. I'm all about honest conversations. I read this before. NJ Fanatic, Jack hasn't been Jack for a while now, and I think Luke is fine. They put him on IR as the fans were against him, and Luke is salty. Quinn isn't here either. I do think that they're probably a little upset that it did not pan out. The entire world, including them, I'd imagine, and Quinn, probably all thought it was a foregone conclusion. They had the inside track. Rutherford was going to try to accommodate Quinn's wishes as best he could. And by all the reports that came out, it certainly seemed like there was a deal kind of in principle agreed to. And then Fitz could not get the cap space freed up to make it happen. Then, then there was other stories. It seemed like a little propaganda that came out afterwards. But I will forever believe that essentially Fitz just wasn't ready when the call came. Didn't have the cap space, couldn't make it happen. And then it got opened up to other bidders. And that is when Billy Guerin, the razor sharp man that he is, came swooping in and stole the prize. Dire Distress says, love the guy, but this organization needs an asshole captain. Too much country club need painful discipline now. And I think that, again, comes from top down. Top down, there needs to be accountability. A lot of people, you could say whatever you want about Lou Lamoriello. He was a militaristic drill sergeant who needed everything to be his way. And it produced winning. It was a winning culture. We were a proud franchise. And as much as a lot of the guys at the time may not have liked all of his rules, I mean, let's be real. Some of them were kind of silly, but they may not have liked all of his rules and all of that. But in the end, almost every guy that I've ever spoke to that had played for him, all love him, all have nothing but the most respect for him. They all wanted to or would have relished in the opportunity to work with him at a future time, whether that was in some coaching capacity, front office, scout, whatever it is. Everybody knew that Lou was a winner who would do anything he could in his power to make his team better and to win. And it starts at the top. And it actually starts even above him. You need to have a owner or ownership group that cares about winning as well to put someone like Lou in charge that is going to run a tight ship. And we have the complete opposite right now. There is no culture here. And I've talked about that before as well. There is a big, having a winning culture really matters. People want to write it off like it means nothing, but it is certainly true. If you do not have a winning culture, it's just kind of a free-for-all circus, and that kind of seems like where we're at right now. Stickfix says, Nico has a place as an A, but we've all seen those depressed picks where a captain should be firing up their team. Again, I'm not going to kill him for that. I personally like a more fiery captain. I grew up on Scott Stevens. I mean, we couldn't be any more different in terms of, the way Nico is and the way Scott Stevens is. But a lot of guys do respect the way he works, his two-way game. And his leadership style is not the same. Again, it wouldn't be my most preferred kind of approach to a captain, but as long as guys are, I don't know. I get where people are at with that too. I'm not going to kill him for it. I think he's trying. I don't think he was ever truly meant to be a captain, if I'm being real, but this is all what happens when an organization thrusts guys into positions they're not ready for. And I think that happened with both Nico and Jack at a young age. Crazy Alex, the beloved Sprong-esque trade. Jungle, pat yourself on the back from the man who insisted the Markey trade and deal were so great. I was happy with the Markey trade, and he played well last year. It has not aged well. What do you want me to tell you? I don't run away from things that I've said, just so you know. I don't know why you're pretending like I do. Not looking great at the moment, obviously. There's still a chapter to be written on this. If I'm being real, I don't know how it's going to end. I guess the only thing I'm holding on to hope for is that like Markey's hiding an injury and he fully recovers in the summer and looks better next year. But obviously I'm terrified like everybody else is. I would have never given him the extension Fitz did. At the time, I think it was a decent trade, all things considered, to try to fix the goaltending. And in terms of last year, it kind of worked. The tandem of Markstrom and Allen got us to the playoffs. Which, again, I'm not going to celebrate a playoff berth, but it's certainly better than where we are now. But did that not work last year? Like, I didn't say that, we should sign him and extend him for multiple years and all of these things. So did Markey and Allen not give us better goaltending than we got the year before? Daniel says, hello, my name is Daniel. I think Jack Hughes should play tomorrow because he's being paid to play with the New Jersey Devils. He's not being paid to play in the Olympics. That's kind of where a lot of people are at, but unfortunately he is not playing. He's not ready to go, but he will be ready in Italy. Tasha says, I saw St. Louis and naively thought Cairo immediately. Boy, was I wrong. Oh, funny you mentioned that, Tasha. I thought this was kind of funny too. Courtesy of Pasha of Spin and Chicklets. Wow. Blockbuster trade by Fitzy getting Bjugstad. The move that will save the Devil season. He must have swung and missed on Cairo and Thomas before settling for this. Way too little, way too late. What a mockery. And I completely agree. Who knows if he was trying to get a bigger piece, either Cairo or Thomas, from St. Louis. And they were like, no, or they couldn't come to an agreement. And then he just took the consolation prize. That is possible. But either way, I agree with Pasha's take here. It's way too little, way too late. Like, if this is trying to give the illusion of improvement, it's improvement for next season, and it's very minimal. This is not moving the needle. This is not doing anything substantial. And so I do think it is a bit of just like, well, what are we even doing here? Just a nothing. Mostly a nothing. Devil Dog says Nelke is a Selke center, but a middling captain. Titus Dream, I think Fitz is still holding. I hope Quinn doesn't sign on July 1st and will save his ammo to appease Swiss cheese Hughes brothers who can't military press 10 pounds without shoulder separation. I'm curious. I'm pretty sure he's probably told the owners that he's still going to get him. And then he probably bragged that, like, now we'll get him for free and we won't have to pay any assets. It's definitely not happening. Like, it's definitely not happening. And that was pretty abundant to me, I think, right after I saw the first press conference with the Minnesota Wild. I would love to be wrong. I'd love for him to come here. I wanted him when the rumors were out there. He is an absolute monster. He's already like broken a Minnesota Wild defenseman record with 3 assist games. He's already tied like Ryan Suter, which is insane to think about. But yeah, I mean, he's an ozone machine, can enter the zone effortlessly. My boy Pat, shout out to my boy Pat. He texted me, the Islander fan. I'm so jealous. I'm jumping on the Isles wagon for Pally for the playoffs. But I think Quinn would have helped his team a lot. Would he have solved all of the issues? No. But would he have made the team much better? Absolutely. And that may have, if the deal actually went through, alleviated some of the potential locker room strain. But these are all things we'll never know or be able to prove. These are all just kind of hypotheticals. But I don't see how this team would not be much better with Quinn Hughes, with the ability that he brings from the back end. He plays half the game. I mean, it's really insane what he does. The 5-star, thank you for the super. We need to rebuild. We failed on Quinn. I guess that's supposed to say Salayev is going to be our guy. Totally different player than Quinn Hughes. A monster kid, supposed to bring the boom. He does not have the offensive anything of Quinn Hughes. I do think a lot of people are starting to get worried about that pick, but this is all future is bright stuff. Like, I honestly, like, he's not even a thought on my mind right now. I'm very much in the present. And Salayev is coming over from Russia, I believe, either at the end of this season or to start next season, but he's definitely going to play at least the season in Utica. And so this is all filed under the future is bright. I can't really use too much energy even thinking about it right now, because it just has no bearing on the current team and where we're at. David Chime says that 210 pounds is all muscle and testicle. Perfect. Let me listen. In and of itself, I'm not mad at the deal. I do think that is a very big upgrade at 4C. However, it is way too late for this season, and we're talking about a 4C for next year. These were supposed to be the bright years. Let me remind you. So on the surface, sure, is this an improvement for next year? Yeah, it's an improvement for right now, but it doesn't matter because this season's over. So we're talking about an improvement for 4C for next year. Great. Are we supposed to light the fireworks for this? It's a minor improvement for next year. Like, these are not needle moving moves. These are not changing the culture of this team. It is not changing the identity. I mean, I guess it's a very small baby step in changing the identity, that it's a much bigger guy, but it's just way too little, way too late, and it's nothing to be excited about whatsoever. Yasuo Phoenix, future so bright, blinding my eyes with all this winning. Yeah, you got to protect your retinas. That's why I have on my protective eye gear. You cannot look at this bright future with the naked eye. You will certainly damage those retinas. B now says they only made this deal for the owners right off because they need to hit the cap, in my honest opinion. What, the cap for when? Select the Boy says, I miss Mike McLeod. I think we all do. Motor Mike brought a little bit of everything to the bottom 6. Have not replaced him since, obviously. And hopefully, at least, this will alleviate the rotation of guys like Lamico and Glendening. Like, this should be a legitimate 4C. But again, this is for next year, and what do I care about that for right now? Titus Streams is getting rid of Hall of Hurt as well. Dude was another heart and soul on ice leader. Yeah, I agree, but we needed the cap space. They were going to try to do something else. It didn't work out. I mean, he's benefiting from a new situation. Like, I think a lot of these guys ultimately will when they're dealt. I have no doubt that these guys, some of these guys will thrive on other teams, but it's just not happening here for whatever reason. And it's time to move on. It's time to move on from the experiment that is this core. If this core 4 is brought back next season, I'm going to be furious. It's just time for a shakeup. It really is. We've seen enough. Jungle Static, Fitz needs to go. He cannot be trusted with the decisions that need to be made. He must go. Completely agree. I mean, I think there's only a handful of people left in the entire fan base that would argue with that. Yasuo Phoenix says, what happened to Jack's foot? We don't really know. Seemed like he took a little bit of a slash or something. They said it's nothing that serious. And he did. The fact that he tried to come back during that same game tells me that it's not that serious as well. Jason O says, just shut Jack down after the Olympics, make him go train for next season. I didn't want to get there yet, but I am very curious to see. What happens when he returns. And God forbid he gets hurt in the Olympics. My God. If he gets hurt in the Olympics, I think there's going to be certain people that are going to have a complete meltdown and go on the warpath if he gets hurt during the Olympics. Knock on wood. I hope that doesn't happen. But that would just be another, the latest thing to set these people off. Taylor 88 NYC, thank you for the super. Sick of these dumb young fans saying nothing is wrong with our core forwards. Just because a player is good looking doesn't mean keep him, play for the logo. I like where your head's at. Bear with me. I just got to run off 1 second. Be right back. 1 second. I do think there is a big portion of the fan base that is kind of like, they're younger girls and things. And like, I'll be honest, like for the most part, and just because there are some people that say stuff like this, like you just can't take them seriously. And it is what it is. Like you could like your players for whatever reason. I'm not here to judge you for it, but in terms of assessing their, compete level or their willingness to win, commitment to win, like, defending them blindly just because you think they're cute is ridiculous. I'm not saying that, everyone's doing that, but I do think there is a good portion of people that will defend certain guys no matter what happens. And yeah, I've said it probably 10 times tonight, and I've said it probably 100 times in the past 2 months. Lou Lamoriello, baby, you play for the crest on the front, not the name on the back. And it seems like as an organization, we've gotten so far away from that. And it's super unfortunate. Dire Distress says, everyone sucks right now on this team, but they aren't all bad. The right person can kick this organization in the ass, but it won't happen. I agree. I totally agree with that too. And that's why I think it's crucial that we get a fresh set of eyes, a new GM from the outside to come in here and shake this thing up. A guy that has no allegiances or ties to any of these guys. And they're going to come in and be like, I'm looking at this whole thing and I'm going to make the moves that are in the best interest of the club. Players be damned. Like we need as a team to get back to respectability. And we are so far from it right now. The 5-star, thank you for the super. Motor Mike was one of the best players. I mean, I don't know one of the best, but he was a very good bottom 6 center and brought a little bit of everything. He would fight if he had to. He would hit guys. He had the energy. He had the speed. He could make passes. He could score. He'll hit. He did everything. You're not replacing a guy like that easily. It is what it is. We never found the replacement, and hopefully now for next season, again, bright future, right? Now we're talking about next season already, that we have a legitimate center depth, Nico, Jack, Nico, however you want to go. Jack and Nico, your top 2 centers. Cody Glass at 3, and Nick Bjugstad at 4C. Great. A small issue taken care of for next year, but too late to do anything for this year. My man DJ, what's up, DJ? My top 2 favorite current non-Devils both play on the Panthers, Marchie and Matty Tkachuk. Yeah, those are 2 agitators as well. 2 gritty guys that have snarl. And again, I know you grew up at the same time as me, DJ. We watched guys like Claude Lemieux on the Devils, the shit stirs, guys that would do anything they could, literally anything, to help their team win. And those guys are cut from the same cloth. Both Brad Marchand and Matthew Tkachuk. Just ultimate compete level, ultimate winners. Ultimate winners. And they both have 2 cup rings. Matty Tkachuk, 2 with the Panthers, and Marchand, 1 with the Bruins, 1 with the Panthers. Winners and just men. Throwback warriors. Tasha, hey, Ace, 1-for-1 straight up. A signed Jack jersey for that jersey? Oh, you're dreaming, Tasha. I don't want to sign Jack jersey. This is a classic. Jungle Static says, just because Marty was an amazing goalie doesn't mean he's a good management guy. Completely agree. Just because someone was good at a sport doesn't mean they'll be good at management. But given where we are now and everything else that we know, I would certainly take the chance. I would take that gamble. DJ says Brady is a close third. Yeah, Brady's my number one. I like Matthew as well. And there's a bunch of other. I love Olivier. Didn't love what he did to the Devils last night, but Olivier's a beast. Titus says, I don't know what bottom six scoring is. It was all we needed to know that Fitz is a danger at the helm. I knew way before then, but, you know, here we are, right? BG Cheese, super far behind, guys. All right, I'm going to have to speed up here. Matt Kachuk gets injured also. Yeah, but you know what? I'll live with it when the guy plays the game the way he does. I could live with that more than some other guys. Obviously, getting injured all the time sucks, but, you know, when certain guys play a style of game that they're just going to take a pounding, you got to take the good with the bad. And he played through some crazy injuries in the finals, either last year or the year before. Jesse, Marty should be a part of this team until the day he dies, like Dano and Chico. Completely agree. Marty should be here in some capacity for as long as he wants to be here. Snorkel Life, hit the thumbs up, hit the like for Ace. Thank you. And if you're not subscribed, guys, listen to me. Please hit the thumbs up, obviously, right now. I don't know. I can't see what it is, but it's never enough. So hit the thumbs up, help your boy out. And obviously subscribe. I really would appreciate your subscription. As the channel grows, I'm hoping to do some cooler things for you guys to witness and then hopefully experience in the real world, in real life. I have so many crazy pipe dreams, and I hope if even 10% of them come true, hopefully there's some cool experiences down the line. But your subscription today helps a Small Devils YouTube channel continue on their path. So thank you very much for the new subscriptions, for the longtime subscribers, new folks around these parts. I appreciate each and every last one of all of you. I'm super behind in the comments, so I'm going to have to scroll ahead here. I'm a chatter, guys. I'm a chatter. I go off on a tangent. I look back, and now I'm super far behind. BJ Cheese says, I guess if Fitz gets fired, Marty should also be gone, right? BJ Cheese, I guess you've been, no. When I always say clean out the entire front office minus Marty, I will never deviate from that, period. Frank says, sorry, but Marty has accomplished nothing in his capacity as an executive VP. Right now, that's just a title. He's not an ultimate decision maker. You could come with criticism when he is an ultimate decision maker. Then you could criticize. But until then, and that hasn't been the case, I will certainly take my chances. The 5-star, thank you for the super. Claude is the ultimate devil. He's definitely one of them. Number 22, Claude Lemieux. Another winner. Will do anything it takes to win. Anything he can do to win, and as a result, played a massive role in the 95 Cup Championship, winning the Conn Smythe Trophy as the most valuable player of the playoffs, and then came back and helped the boys do it again in 2000. Love Claude Lemieux, obviously a great devil in history, and I do believe that he should be the next player inducted into the Devils Ring of Honor. Now, there's a bunch of other guys, coaches and things that I think should go in as well, but in terms of players, I think Claude should definitely be the next player that is inducted, whenever that may be. All right, folks, I'm slowly finding my way towards more current times in the chat. Shout out to all of you. Appreciate you all coming out. This has been a very active chat. He's talking about McKenna. David says heavier, edgier, and in a correctional facility. He's not going to do time for this, but I did see what he's facing, 20 years. Like, that's ridiculous. I mean, if he does, he's not going to go to jail for this. It's probably going to cost him a shitload of money. I'm sure the kid that he cracked is going to try to sue. I mean, what do you want me to comment? Comment on Mercer. What about him? Serviceable player, started off on fire. As a result of injuries and lack of proper center depth, he was forced to center. I think that kind of derailed the progress he was making at wing. It is what it is. I think he's a very good bottom six player. I don't know. I could see him potentially taking his game to the next level in another destination. Would not be shocked if he was traded. He's got one more year left on his deal at $4 million. A guy he could put out there in all situations. You know, shorthanded power play late in games, protecting leads, does a little bit of everything. Has hustle. At least has a higher compete level than a lot of other guys on the team. I like Mercer, but I do think it was unfortunate how I think his progress kind of got derailed when he was forced to play center several different times. David Chimes, legal in Italy to punch someone for mother insult? Is that real? Is that for real? Thirst for War says Nico is one of the few bright spots on the team. How can anyone question that? Alex says, Ace, in case you didn't see, I think Jack should get a Planet Fitness sponsorship. B now says Nico will be running from the Devils. I don't know. I think he does like it here. I do think he, at least once upon a time, thought he could win here. I'm very curious how this season impacts his long-term outlook. But players aren't dumb. I've said this a bunch of times. They saw 2 years in a row the Devils had a bunch of LTIR money that they did not use, and that clearly shows to me that you're not all in on winning, because if you were, you would have spent that LTIR money. And I think, prior to this year, it was 6 of the previous 8 cup winners or something, a high percentage were teams that exceeded the cap by exposing the then existing LTIR loophole, which is now closed. But that is a commitment to winning. When you have an ownership group that is willing to spend above and beyond, use the LTIR money, and then you activate all these guys, the other injured guys magically heal right before the playoffs, and you're $15-20 million over the cap. The Lightning even made fun of it and were wearing shirts about it, which was pretty funny years ago. Tasha says, what, Ace? You don't think Taylor Hall was a good influence? No, not at all. And he wasn't here long enough. But no, when I say proper mentors and stuff, I'm talking about when you come into the league, into a locker room with firmly entrenched veterans and leaders and guys that have won before. It's an entirely different experience. And some of the guys back on the cup days, guys like Gomer and Colin White, John Madden, even Rafalski, they came into very veteran heavy groups with guys that they were not going to question. This was no doubt a team that was serious about winning from the top down. Lou Lamoriello, number one priority, winning. All the players in place, winning. And all the rookies had a very different upbringing in this league than the guys we have on this team now. Obviously, it's a very different league, but there's still guys that subscribe to that kind of overall philosophy and organizations that do. And typically they find success because they are all about their business. The 5-star, I've been cursed out. I want Shani to replace Fitz. He's on my short list. Lots of people disagree, and that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. Shani's on my short list for sure. I still would give Marty the chance if he was interested, but if not, Shani's on my list. Brian Burke I'd be interested in, but anyone who has experience and brings a little bit of old school flair, and call me an old man and whatever else, but I do believe all that stuff matters. Titus Dream, we require a 30 to 33-year-old aging star on this team, someone who the young guys can't talk smack to and holds them to the fire. That was what Palat was supposed to do, but he never was good enough. My issue with this, if I'm being completely honest, I don't think that some of these young guys, outside of an extreme outlier example like a Sidney Crosby, even a guy like Stammer, I don't know how much influence even a guy like him would have over Jack. I do feel like he's kind of in his own orbit, and it would take an extremely decorated player like Sid for Jack to even, probably think that he could learn something from them. All the USA games, Tasha. All the USA games. Jason O said we should move on from Dougie Siegs and let Dylan go play for a cup. I talked about this last night. I can see some of these guys potentially asking out. I do think Dougie has to be traded at this point. When we were still on life support, I looked at it a little differently, but now that the season's clearly gone, you're never going to get more for him than you will now. And so with Dougie's value at an all-time high towards the deadline, with teams looking to make that, that sexy addition to push them over the hump, you got to find a match for Dougie that he'll agree to go to, or a team on his list, free up that spot on defense, free up that $9 million, And at this point, a guy like I love Dilly and would hate to see him go, but this is a sinking ship. I really want to see Dilly get a chance, and it's not going to happen here. And so I would love to see him sent to a contender and get a real chance to play for a cup. Siegs, I have no attachment to either. Again, like we have, young defensemen, depending on what the other moves, like we may be looking at a heavy retooling or it could be a semi rebuild, but we have Casey still in the wings, Edwards. We have Colton White could be brought back probably for cheap. I think he could be serviceable. So I think we have options, and we may take a step back. But at this point, it's like, how can you really try to put yourself in the best position to be competitive, at least within a couple years, if not immediately? And maybe moving some of these defensemen and freeing up that money could be part of the solution. I'm the Bogue 9013. Thank you for the super. I do not see a comment, so I will look for one further down. B-Now said, I'm having a great night. I stopped caring. I've just kind of released. It's kind of freeing to know that it's over now. Sean says, Ace, that jersey is amazing. Wish we had someone on this team with the heart and soul of Stevens. Well, they don't make them like Scott Stevens anymore, unfortunately. And what a time. How absolutely spoiled we were to live through that era. I mean, the Scott Stevens era of the New Jersey Devils, it'll never be the same, but what a time to be alive. Would love to see anyone remotely resembling him. And to me, and I'm not saying they're analogous. I mean, analogous to some extent, but I'm not saying they're the same. But I think the closest thing you're going to find in that in a forward is Brady Tkachuk. And I still think they're worlds apart, but he's at least reminiscent of a Scott Stevens in a lot of different ways. B-Now, you zoomed in on Pesci's head. I was dying. He got a kick out of it. Pesci's the man. What an animal. Just the name says the Hughes boys are becoming stale with this fan base. It's obvious, but even those Hughes fans are realizing that all those skilled and prima donnas. I hope they give me a reason to believe there's no truth to any of this. And I'm not saying that there is, but there's just the little things that happen that give some sort of credence to the extreme haters that want to bring up, look for reasons to kind of criticize them. Don't give them any reason. Dire distress. Jack should not be in the Olympics. Needs to get health and work on his strength and get back to his NHL team. Yeah, but the season's over. Like I said earlier, does that make a difference to some fans? It will. And in terms of his thought process of it, like now that the season's over, does that change it? I think it probably does. I haven't seen enough of McKenna. Obviously, I know he's going to be one of the top couple guys drafted. His stock went up for me when he cracked somebody at the bar for calling his mother a foul name. John Fay, I already said pre-chat before Ace went live. I'm hoping to see at least one or two more cup finals before I get put into the ground. But the way this team is playing, I'll probably be put in the ground before seeing another cup. I just want to see one before I die, which is sad, but I'm setting the bar low. Samuel says, Jack thinks he's God's gift to hockey. He's not in the top 20 players in the league. I don't know if he thinks that, but again, the way he does come off a way that is sort of off-putting to a lot of people. Prezify says, who gives a, if Jack is in the Olympics, genuinely, who cares? The Devils are ass and aren't making the playoffs. Who genuinely cares? And there's going to be a lot of people that are in that boat too. But despite the Devils not making the playoffs, you would still want to believe that your guys are all in. They're focused on the Devils and they want to win. And the optics of this aren't great. Tosh said, I do think people massively overreact to the Jack stuff. I totally agree. But like I said, if there's these little nuggets did not happen, these people wouldn't have something to latch onto, but they're constantly feeding things to latch onto. And then in conjunction with, again, injuries every year before this year, then Chicago cut, then you have the media quotes, and then you have the kind of smoke surrounding the almost Quinn Hughes deal. And it's a lot of stuff. And when it's constant, people are just like, we're over the soap opera. Jay Snow says Jack needs to start taking the offseason serious, get in the gym and work. It would be nice. I obviously believe that he would benefit from, some Shimo Nemitz type offseason workouts, but he's been injured every offseason and hasn't been able to. Ryan Fisher says Jack does come off a lot more arrogant than Luke does, and I'd hate to say it because I like Jack Hughes. Yeah, I like him too, but he does come off that way. Titus, Jack has the capability to reach a height in the game that's unprecedented for an American, and to watch him squander it by refusing to create a pro hockey body to offset the talent is frustrating. And I think a lot of people kind of have that issue with him as well. Jay Snow, Dylan was an undrafted player who came up the hard way. Yeah, Dilly had to scrape, fight, and claw. Undrafted to 1,000 games played. I mean, what a beast. What an absolute beast. Red Devil says Frank Saravelli is reporting blood in the water. Is that in reference to, I meant to pull this up. That was the last one I didn't pull up yet. I was going to save it for a little bit later, but someone posted this. Frank Saravelli just now, while canvassing the league for the Nashville Predators GM job, there are candidates who believe there will be a GM change in New Jersey, and candidates are preparing for that to happen. So I don't know if that's you're referring to, Red Devil. Certainly would be serious, and I fell super behind again. We shall see. Despite everything that's happened here, I would believe if this job did become open, it would be a very coveted job. All right, I got to really just speed ahead here. I'm like, the chat is just crazy. What do I think the U.S. chances are? I think they're pretty good. Obviously, there's a lot of good teams there. But them versus Canada would be insane. Swamp Fox says Devils already started going south before Chicago cut. I mean, there was signs of problems, but I don't think the season would be where it is today if that never happened. I do believe there would be. You just think about how much better we would all feel right now with even 3 more wins on the year. Like, that makes a world of a difference. That's from you're kind of in the race to it's all over. Rendich says, sounds nice, but isn't Saravelli wrong like all the time? Vecna Fitzgerald, what's going on? This is the worst season ever. It all started with the not top 6 edition. Luke holdout, Chicago cut, not sacking up for Quinn, messing up the locker room. Yeah, I mean, the top 6 was never addressed from when Toffoli was shipped, and we live with the the pitch line of the answers in the room, blah blah blah, we'll figure it out, and like it just never happens because we don't have the pieces in the room, and that's been a big miss too, that I think that Jack could have severely benefited from having a guy, and he's real top 6 finisher, and he hasn't. And we've just been, the rotisserie of trying guys out and the Palats. It's rough. It's really rough. The Luke holdout didn't help public relations matters either. Obviously, a lot of fans didn't like the deal when it was announced, and then when Luke had the struggles, it all just kind of surfaced. You're getting paid $9 million, and again, I wasn't expecting him to be a $9 million player this year, but it's fine. Hopefully, it pays off in the future. Devastating stuff. David, the Devils freed up $3.75 million with the Palat trade and just traded for Nick Bjugstad, and his contract is exactly that. So basically, we swapped Palat for him, and now we have no cap money. No, that would be between him and. Hold on 1 second. I don't think he's making that much. No, his cap hits 1.75. His cap hits 1.75, but nothing substantial is happening anyway, guys. Let's be real. I told you guys this a while ago. But everyone that thought, we traded Palat, now we're going to make this big splash, it's not happening. Man, Snow's brutal. He says he's only 30-something. He looks like he's 50-something. You guys are brutal. B now says, what GM would want to come to this show? Someone who sees the value in some of the pieces here. It's still a decent opportunity for a GM to come in. You have a lot of options. It's only the mess really is mostly because of Fitz still being here. Stick thinks some of these recent pathetic efforts, especially Dougie last night, reinforces that Keefe can't be blamed to the same extent. Keefe can't lace up and play for them. I agree. If he has to be a casualty, I'm not going to be devastated over it, but I do think it will be a little bit of a scapegoat situation because we've seen this story before with other coaches. It can't constantly be the coach. At some point, you have to take a look at them. The players have to take a look in the mirror and be like, we're just not getting it done. Ginger says, if Fitz gets the axe, I'm convinced they're going to promote Chuck Fletcher. It feels like a monkey paw moment. I hope not. That'd be kind of crazy. I think they need to bring in someone from the outside. David Ace, here's a good question. Assuming the Devils miss the playoffs, what year is more but disappointing to you? This year, if in 96, when they missed the playoffs as defending champs after winning in 95. There's a lot of variables, right? Because I was a little kid then, so it sucked, but we had just won. It came down to the last season. It was devastating. In the moment, I think this one might be worse, just because the expectations coming into the season, the expectations coming into the season and the fact that it should be at least the end of this core as we know it. This should be the last dance, and it ended up tragically. And so the fact that it's, a disappointing season overall and also just a disappointing end of an era, or which should be a disappointing end to an era, because this group just did not get it done despite all of our, hoping and wishing over the years that they would eventually raise a cup together. Like, it's never going to happen. It's definitely never going to happen. Samuel says, Dougie, Dilly, and Pesci gone. A D-Corps collectively weighs about 170 pounds and still in high school. Devil Dog 96 was worse for me because it made 95 look like a fluke, especially all the clown Ranger fans who called it half a cup because it was a strike shortened season, half season of 48 games. Yeah, but we had just won the cup the year before, so like at least there was recent success. Like, we're now starving for success. We've won a single playoff round in 14 years, and again, high hopes for this season and for this core, and this should be the final season of the core. So it's almost like the final chapter, an underwhelming chapter of what could have been. What could have been. Beckman says, appreciate you doing the lives, big dog. Yeah, thanks for coming out, man. Rendich says, not that I'm anti-Jack, but Jack kind of called out Mercer a year or two ago for holding out, then was on Luke's side with this holdout. Just interesting. I think that was... I thought it was Brat that he said something about, like, you got to sign the contract. I could be wrong. My Bob Jack said he has no message for the fans. How about thank you for the support? I mean, listen, I'm not going to kill him for it, but I will point out that it was not the greatest thing to say. Some people went crazy with it. Like, listen, it's not a good look, in my opinion. And I do think, some cliche statement like thank you for the support, whatever, would have been much better. But here we are. That did not happen. My Bob's ownership wants Jack in the Olympics for the PR. B now, Jack also talked shit about Timo. If you want to sign here, then sign. I thought that was Bratter. Didn't take that attitude with Luke. I really thought that was Brat. But either way, I do remember him saying that about somebody. Stickfigs, if Keefe becomes an unfortunate casualty of a house cleaning from top to bottom, so be it. But if Fitz and this core is scapegoated again by the head coach, the crap circle is going to repeat. Do you mean if Keefe in the core is scapegoated by Fitz? Ryan Fisher, they actually asked Jack if he had a message to the fans that had given up hope, and they cut the words that he said out of a paragraph-long answer. Yeah, the whole thing in context was slightly better, but in the end, he still did, technically say what he said. But I understand it was slightly taken out of context, but it was still not great. Still not great. Running with the Wooden says Jack and Luke should be the first ones to go. Got to fix the locker room first, as I've said a million times. I don't think the owners are going to consider trading them anytime soon. So I think talking about it's kind of a waste of time. I still think that the owners probably delusionally believe they have a chance to get Quinn, so they're probably keeping the hope alive. Pro Bowl says send Jack and Luke to Minnesota. I'm sure they would welcome it, but I don't think Billy Guerin is going to give anything that would make Fitz make that move. I believe he would take them. He's not going to give up the pieces that people believe we would get for them. Guerin's trying to win a cup. Benjamin says, you guys are all in the money. We have locker room cancer, and you all know where it starts. David, Ace, I listened to your lengthy explanation about Jack, and honestly, I've had two other Devils fan friends, my dad and brother, all say the same thing. I think Jack has a lot of haters right now. He does. And to be clear, I'm not one of them, but there's certain things that do not sit well with me, if I'm being honest. And I talked about all of them. Now, do I still think he could be a great player for this team and help us win? Absolutely. But when I see all the extreme haters like going nuts, I have to point out that he's giving them the little nuggets to run with. Like, don't give them that. Tighten it up, man. Show the dedication. Do the little things. It's not that hard, but it just doesn't seem like who he is. And round we go. Woodson says, I remember when the whole chat hated on me for calling out Jack. Matthew, I want GM fired when we could rebuild. John Fay, oh, by the way, Ace, I saw something on Facebook from the Thunder that your boy Amesbury dropped the gloves. He's dropped the gloves several times. with the Thunder now. Several times. Woodson says Jack's trade stock will go down over the next few weeks. It'll be a nationwide embarrassment. I think that, again, with the right line mates, and ample ice time, he could do damage in that tournament. The 5-star, thank you for the super. We need Matt or Brady. Matt's going nowhere. And there's a good chance Brady doesn't go anywhere either, but I certainly would try to get him at all costs. Like, that's a guy that's a culture shifting, really, that's a big time move. Somehow landing Brady Tkachuk is a culture changing, history changing move that should be explored. But, who knows if Ottawa even, they'll take the call, right? So you just, make an offer they can't refuse. I don't think they want to trade him yet, but he probably wants out of there, I'd imagine. It looked like they were kind of turning it around last year, but they're a mess again. Covey or Mogilny? I love them both. And Mogilny, because he was a cup champ with this team, will always have a different place in my heart than Covey. But Covey was far more electric as a Devil. Covey was in his prime. Mogilny wasn't. So it's almost a not fair comparison. Stickfix says, should we get sorry Lindy chants on February 25th? That would actually be hilarious. That would be one of the funniest chants in the history of arenas. Yeah, Allen did take a massive pay cut. 1.8 times 5. He probably bought in too. But in the end, he already has his cup. He probably likes the area. He did not want to uproot his family. And so, if it all just is a nasty rebuild now, he might not even care. I'm sure he'd be disappointed, but it's not going to be likely to the point where he wants to get traded. Matthew says everyone wants honest answers until an athlete gives a truly honest answer. And that's fair too. But be ready to be criticized for your honesty if it results in something like that. Stickfix says, I'm tired of puck bunnies on Twitter that only go to games to gawk at their favorite players, telling me how I should feel about my team. Their fanfic boys can do no wrong. But that's why you just don't even take those people seriously. It's fine. Let them be a fan the way they want, but it's not rooted in on-ice play or anything that matters. David Ace, remember when Covey retired 3 years into his 15-year contract and shocked everyone? What do you think chances are both Luke and Jack demand trades this summer and leave the Devils too? I don't think they're going to do that at all. Anything could happen, but that would be a little shocking to me. Samuel, 3 years of Devils, was that preseason bowl that are in the running to win the cup is more than enough. Wow, this is butchered here. But Timo and Jack would be my choice to trade. Okay. Woodson says as soon as the Wild extends Quinn, they will move them. Oh, you think once the Devils owners realize that the dream is over of all three, that they'll be willing to move them? Maybe. Stickfix says, said this before, in conjunction is the key. I've defended the Hughes brothers, but all of this together is a terrible look for Jack. We'll still defend, but amongst fellow fans, it's time to be honest. That's where I'm at. That's all I'm trying to say. To be very clear, I am not one of these extreme Jack haters by any stretch, but I'm also not going to be one of these people with the blinders on that say oh, there's nothing to see here. There's plenty to see. There's certainly plenty to see. And if you are not willing to be honest about that, then that's on you. But there's certainly things to question. Rendich, what if it's not even the Wild and the Hughes brothers want to play home in Detroit? At this point, Quinn's already in, I could see that maybe, but Quinn's already in Minnesota. They seem to have a pretty solid team. If somehow they could go there, I'm sure they would all love it. But again, I can't see any of this. To Woodson's point, I could see it being a slight possibility if and when Quinn extends there. But I still think the Devils owners will be like, okay, well, we still have 2 Hughes out of 3. That's fine. We wanted all 3, but we'll still stick with the 2. I don't know that it was this long-winded play from the very, very beginning years ago when they drafted Luke to get all 3. Woodson says Jack's ego is too big to accept being in a rebuild, which is clearly happening. I mean, he's been part of one, whether he knew it or not, his whole career, essentially. B now says Billy Guerin isn't giving up the farm for Jack and Luke. He isn't dumb. I've said that for a very long time as well. When people are like, "Oh yeah, trade him for Boldy and Faber," I'm like, you're dreaming if you think Billy Guerin is going to make that deal. B now says Brady at all costs should be banners at the Rock. DJ says Devils need Amesbury. I would love to see Amesbury. I don't know how the paperwork, how that actually works for an ECHL guy, but I would love to see Diamond Hands get a game or two in the show and just start chucking knuckles. At least there'd be something for us to cheer for, right? I mean, what the hell was there to cheer for last night? A gutless performance where they didn't score a goal. There was no big hits. There was no anything. No signs of emotion or life whatsoever. Nothing. Cisco kid, Covey was a beast, size, puck movement, and he could shoot the puck. Yeah, he was a monster truck with a Ferrari engine. Man, it was crazy. His stick handling, his cannon blast shot, the deeks in tight. Covey was a beast. Jubilee says not an easy answer, but I'll probably take Covey. Traveling Devil, let's get the Islanders game over. Yeah, I mean, just it's all about USA hockey, Traveling. Get ready. I hope you're not alarmed by the amount of food I will consume. Benjamin says, our people are in the locker room with Hughes. You know he was effing around at dinner and injured himself again. Everyone was sick of their BS, not just a distraction, toxic. Like, maybe. We'll never know. We will never know. Tim, should the Devils trade Dougie Hamilton after the Olympic break? Yeah, absolutely. Free up the $9 million on the spot on D. Like, someone will take him. It sucks. I like Dougie, but like we're at the point now where tough decisions need to be made, and it's over. It's really over. Brandon, I mean, let's be real. His team does not have a top six. What, top four? One guy gets injured. We don't have a team. We need more top six guys. Completely agree with that as well. That's been a problem forever. We've had a top four and then just auditioning guys in the top six. You know, Tatar, Palat, Mercer, Gritz got some time up there. It was just, you know, trying to budget fix. I mean, Dodonov was the preseason top line winger. I tweeted that the other day from everyone, what everyone thought was going to be a depth signing in the summer. And then we see training camp and he's on the top line and you're like, oh my God, it's another budget Tom attempted fix. And he was scratched the other night. He was a 13th forward at practice. Like, come on, man. You need to go get legitimate guys. David, how many goals do you think Bjugstad will score for us this year? Well, I would just go by his production now. He has what, like 7 in very little. There's what, 25 games left? I don't know, probably 2. If I had to bet, I would say 2. Snow says none. World's worst gamer, we just needed scoring wingers and the team to stay healthy. Still would have been a soft contending team, but would have been better than this. Making the playoffs, way better than not making the playoffs. For sure. Tasha says, Seamus Casey is always injured. Fitz needs to deal him in a package ASAP. Yeah, I hope they didn't wait too long on him. I feel like his value may have went down over the past couple of years. Like if we sold him like a year ago, we may have gotten more. But the 5-star, I'm telling you, Shani is our next deal. What, naming Shani GM? B now says Allen took less to win like Marty did. I'm sure him and Marty talked. Yeah, Marty notoriously leaving money on the table. To build a competitive team around him. B now says Chicago cut, constant injuries, Quinn sulking, Luke Boogate, D-bag interviews. There are a lot of reasons, but I still love the dude. Just wish he would be better. Yeah, same. Just don't give these people shit to run with. Like when you serve it up constantly, you're just feeding into it. And I guess he just doesn't care, but it just breeds negativity. Jason, the game was so boring last night. Yeah, there was nothing to cheer for whatsoever. Bacchanal Brunch says, yo, Ace, what did you give to Dilly? It was kind of hard to see in the vlog. Hold on one second. I'll show you. I actually have an extra one here. It was a ticket. Hold on. So what I gave Dilly was several tickets from his first NHL game, which he really appreciated. Here you can see it here. It was Dallas versus St. Louis, April 7th, 2012. So it was tickets to his first NHL game. He seemed genuinely excited by it. I gave him several. He has 2 daughters. I said, 2 of these are for your daughters and whoever else in your family. But yeah, he really liked it. Dilly's the man. What a guy. Husky says, I say this every time you wear it, but that is the greatest jersey of all time. Beautiful. Thank you. One of my favorites. David said, I don't see Luke and Quinn ever playing together because they're both defensemen. Quinn has already said as the older brother, you want to steal ice time and prevent Luke from developing. I think that's complete nonsense. They've all said they wanted to play together. So what? They lied about that and they didn't realize the implications on Luke. Like, I think they would, deal with all of that to play together. I don't think that would really bother them. Thirst for War says, guys need to lay off about the interview. Jack has never taken a confrontational question well. He needs to just ask, who are you with? Such a stupid person, fake news, and very done with it. I mean, I think it's a legitimate question. That was a bad question. What is your message for the fans? I don't think that was a crazy question. Brandon, I actually think we'd be in a decent spot to fix this team if we didn't re-sign Markey. We'd be in a better spot. But I still don't think, even with Markey here, I don't think that would prevent them from fixing the team. And by they, I mean a competent GM. I think certainly could do a retooling. Dodonov, what an insignificant persona, the signing of the year. Rendich, if he scores 1, he will do more than Glendening. Yeah, I mean, this is just... Jay Snow, if you're not winning a cup, then you need to be getting better for next year. I wouldn't want to get walked in the first round anyway. I would much rather be walked in the first round. So this will never agree on this. I would much rather get walked in the first round than have our season over before the Super Bowl. Let's be real. We are going to be watching mostly meaningless hockey games for the next 9 or 10 weeks. It's insane. Faye saying 3-goal night for Palat and 2 assists. A hat trick with 2 assists. I think Palat's definitely going to get a point tomorrow. Matthew, with how good the East is getting, do you see this core ever being good enough to contend for an Eastern Conference final? Absolutely not. And they shouldn't get the chance. At least one of them must be traded this offseason. If we bring back all of them next year, we're going to watch the same movie again. We've seen enough. This should have been the last dance. It flamed out. It's unfortunate. Again, there was injuries. There was a lot of BS. But it should all be over now. Where did you get Dylan's tickets? I had them a while ago. I had them a while ago and originally planned Snow. This was before I had them for a while. And I originally thought I would still have a fledgling media career for his 1,000th game. And I don't think he even came out because of how he got hurt in the game or whatever. But I originally planned on presenting them to him in the locker room after his 1,000th game. That was my original plan. But my career got cut short, obviously. So I was not able to do that. So I had to wait till, I saw him again, which, the 1,000th game was a couple months ago or whatever. So it was a little later than I wanted to give it to him. But I originally planned on presenting it to him in the locker room. Didn't happen, obviously, but I was glad to be able to get them to him at that event. Now, Dylan seemed very excited by it. Great dude. He must have been torn up by our lack of heart. Yeah, he's a warrior, man. He wants to win. One of the few guys on this team that I believe truly wants to win more than anything. And I do hope it would suck because you guys know I've loved him since the day we got him. And his debut as a New Jersey Devil, what a start. Lays out Peterka in the Global Series. And then fought Tuck. Heavier, edgier, more violent. Throwback warrior. But I'm sure he's gutted, and he's coming towards the end of his career. And I hope that they trade him. I do. It's a shame, but I do hope they trade him to a contender and he could get a cup because he deserves it. Heart and soul guy. Brings a lot to a team. John Fay, the jersey brings back so much memories when this franchise was its best. That's why I had to put it on. I was like, I need to feel a little good tonight. It always makes me feel good to even just look at the jersey and hold it and put it on, as sad as it is. Ice Cube and my iced tea. We don't have the best team, but we have the best YouTube channel. Are you referring to this channel or the Devils channel? If you're referring to this channel, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Cisco Kid Dilly was genuinely excited. You could see he was like, "What?" Yeah, I mean, I thought he would have a pretty cool reaction, but it was a little more than I even anticipated, if I'm being honest. But he certainly liked it. And, I told him, like, these are for your daughters. Like, that's a really cool thing. When his daughters are old enough to understand, like, this was the first game our dad played in his NHL career, blah, blah. It's a cool little sentimental thing. We upgraded our Carson. We upgraded our 4C for next year. Like, great, big deal. The future's bright. The future's bright. Benjamin says, Dylan listening to the Hughes brothers situation and thinking, what have I done here? It's quite possible. I think a lot of the veterans are like, what did I get myself into, just on so many different levels, but it is what it is. Faye says, Dilly is a beast. I don't care what anyone says. I like Dylan, as do I. Snow, that was a layup question. It's so easy to give a quick answer. No, I agree. It's like, just regurgitate the BS that people are going to eat up. It's not that hard, but it's just, if you don't care, you don't care. Rendich says Markey is not having the best year, but he's not the largest issue on this team at all. Completely agree with that as well. When you don't score goals, if Markey gives up 7 goals and we lose 7-0, like, does it really matter? Obviously you want to see the goaltending when he's in there be more solid consistently, but this season was sunk because this team could not score, period. We got to fire Fitz. Now missing the playoffs is never a preferred option. I completely agree with you. David Ryan says fire the whole organization. Snow, that you're not getting better for next year. We need to be selling right now and try to be better for next year. And you trust Fitz to do that, though? Benjamin, our management is the big issue. If we had some brains in the front office, we wouldn't be in this position. I completely agree with that. We got a hashtag Chicago cut. Teams are more desperate to buy when they're pushing for a playoff spot, and that's why we should be able to get Dougie out of here, I think. Travelin says Quinn has 11 more points than our leading points player. Not surprised there at all. Yeah, it was those chicken fingers, Snow. Benjamin, I honestly think our Epstein Files ownership is knee-deep in our failure as well. They have different motives. They just want to make money, it seems. The 5-star says, I love Marty, but Hasek is better. I think that's treasonous. Rendich, to me, it has to be Brad or Timo. Can't trade our centers away when center depth has been an issue for how long. I agree with that, too. By process of elimination, I come to the same point that you are. We need more centers, not less. Ace ate too many meatballs and lost them. The future is bright. Yeah, it's always the chicken fingers. They said only fries. Unhinged Devs fan. Ace, love the Stevens jersey. Hate Fitz, fires, ass, fire, Keefe, too. Brutal season. If Keefe has to go as part of the whole cleansing, then fine, but I don't think he is the issue whatsoever. Benjamin, too much sauce. Did Ace in? Easy on the sauce. Richie, FYI, Sam Bennett, wish we had him added to the Olympic team. Yeah, in place of Sorelli, who's injured. Yeah, I did cover the Gavin McKenna topic. Hopefully he doesn't get in any real trouble. The kid called his mother a name. I'm all about bashing their teeth in. If you call my mother a name like that in public, I'm going to crack your face too. And his stock went up with me a little bit. I like a guy with a little feistiness. I do think it may hurt him in terms of his draft status, and he's probably going to get sued. But, we know he has some heart. You can't question his heart. Ice Cube, my iced tea. Hell yeah, this channel is the best. You ever see some of the other teams' channels? You're killing it, man. It's not even close. I appreciate that. I really don't see, once in a blue moon, something will pop up and I'll watch for a minute or two. But between regular life stuff and, you know, I don't watch too much stuff, period. There's certain stuff I try to watch here and there when I can, but I don't get to see too much. Brandon, Timo is tied in power play goals, but he's usually not on the power play. Yeah, I mean, Timo should be on power play 1 forever, but we've talked about this forever. David Fitz probably traded for Bjugstad to replace McDermott because of his size. No, this is a 4C move. This is way more substantial than McDermott. Why don't I go for a hot dog where? Benjamin says our organization sucks since Newark. It is true. It is true. It's probably more, you know, another reason why I'm always so biased towards the old arena. But there's a lot of reasons. But that's where we won. David says it's sad. Even our press department is a joke. Tavris says it's silly. If he gets any huge backlash, I stand with the kid. Yeah, the problem is, though, you know, this is, and like if this happened in the 70s or something, he'd be fine. But like, you know, oh, it's technically assault, I suppose. I didn't look into the details too much. I just read it real quick. But if the kid just called his mother a name and didn't touch him, and then he cracked him in the face, by law, he's in the wrong. Now, you know, in my court of law, he's not wrong at all. But the actual law, he would be wrong because it's not self-defense. It's basically assault. And I personally don't agree with it, but that would be the law, I'd imagine. Justin Smith Schmidt has 16 wins this year. Franchise legend forever on this channel. John Fay, he's looking at 20 years of found guilty or convicted, but he could just probably plea self-defense. Yeah, maybe, you know, maybe there's a bunch of people that were there that saw the kid push him first. Jay Snow, did they get you? No. I don't think Keefe is the problem. Half Naked Frankenstein, why isn't Timo on power play 1? He should be on every power play 1. I've agreed with this sentiment, and I've talked about it going back to forever ago. For whatever reason, you know, he's out there sometimes. It's not every time. I think he should just be a staple. And on the right side, obviously. The fact that that is how he was used in San Jose, that is how he did all of his damage, and then he comes here and we're like, oh, let's try to reinvent the wheel and use him in other ways, I think is kind of silly. But, you know, that would be, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, you know, why don't you complain about Keefe then? Like I said, Keefe is not completely blameless in my book. And there's certain things that he's done that I don't necessarily agree with, like not putting Timo out there in every power play 1. I wasn't thrilled with the constant Luke Hughes on power play 1 before he got hurt either. But those aren't going to be things that make me hate the guy and call for him to be fired. Like, that's just, I just don't agree. He's the head coach. That's his prerogative. From my perspective, I think that Timo should always be on power play 1, but that's not going to be a reason for me to be like, oh, Keefe's got to go. He's not putting Timo on power play 1. Like, I think it's a little crazy. David Ace, at what point in the season do you think Scott Stevens would have stepped up in the locker room and said something to the players if he was on this team? Their first few game losing streak, man. Like, this stuff wouldn't exist, but a lot of the things would have never happened, period. It's just a different world, a different mindset from the average players. And it's brutal. Bear with me 1 second. I'm getting some texts here. But the old school guys wouldn't have stood for any of this. B now says 20 years for punching someone. I think a lot of it has to do, yeah, he broke his jaw. I think the severity probably comes into play. Richie Ace hit Damani restaurant last night with a buddy, told him about burger with mac and cheese. Disgusting, he said, then ordered bolognese. I said, you jackass, same thing. Oh, man. It is a felony he's charged with. Ooh. Faces, I understand why he did what he did, but he should have thought about his future and hockey career before landing that jaw-breaking hit. However, the kid talked bad about his mother, so he reacted like how any of us would if he smack talked about our mama. Yeah, that's an easy button to get a reaction out of me. I don't have NIL money to pay out lawsuits, but And it wasn't even like he talked about his mother. I believe he called her a name to her face, which is even more disrespect, which certainly would catch these. You'll catch the fist and the forearm clap for that. Brandon says, so with Keefe knowing the top lines are not producing, why doesn't he break the lines up? Dude, where have you been, Brandon? We've had like 700 different line combinations over the course of the season, and none of them really dominated except for the, what was it? Grits, Glass, and Haminaho had a solid few games. But outside of that, like there's been no lines that have really clicked at a regular rate. Half Naked Frankenstein says maybe he drops in the draft and the Devils could finally get some fight. I don't think he'll drop that far. The text is not Fitz got fired. If it's a felony, he might be in deep. Who parties with their mom? I don't think it was like a parting with his mom. It sounded like maybe him and some of his teammates were out with their mothers. Like, that's not that crazy. I just went out with my mom to the city last week. Shout out to Ma Dukes. We went to Carbone. Highly recommend. If you've ever been to Carbone or have heard about it in New York City, Carbone is quite the experience. We went to Carbone and a show. David Ace, do you think this is like the Sprong like trade this season, or are there more up Fitz's sleeve coming? There might be a couple, but it's going to be nothing of substance. Like I've said for months now, it's just going to be small little moves. I do think he trades Dougie out. I honestly have no idea what that return will be. I would hope that it's for, in an ideal world, I would hope that it's for picks that we end up trading to get win now pieces. But I could see him trading them for, maybe like a prospect and a pick. It's hard. I could see them kind of going in multiple different directions with that. But I will tell you, there's not going to be a player of substance brought in my opinion. There might be a couple sell moves. And I'm still curious about Nemo because I think he's going to want a lot of money, and maybe they don't want to pay that. Maybe they see him as a piece to use, to dangle, to get forward help. Like there's a lot of different things kind of in the works here. So I don't have, and there was the rumors that Fitz was getting greedy on the return for Dougie. That was a rumor that was out there. Like, oh, he's not just trying to salary dump him, which I thought was a little crazy. I thought he should have welcomed, any trade that would have gotten us full cap relief. I would have thought that would have been nice. Like, I wasn't looking to get a major piece back. I think most other people were of the same thinking that, like, get someone to take his whole salary and don't worry about what the return is. But it seems like he thinks he's going to win that trade too. I don't know how. Chase Snow, 4 high danger chances in a must-win game. Brandon, I get that, but he changes the lines like 4 times a season. The lines have been changed 1,000,000 times, Brandon. What are you talking about? 4 times a season. It's been 1,000,000 times. My dog for GM, what's up, my suffering NJD brethren? What's going on, man? We're just down bad over here. Richie, we disagree sometimes, and that's a good thing, but we are all on here, so we do care. Ace, thanks for letting us vent. Great job, and cheers to all you Devils fans. Richie D out. Have a good one, Richie. Benjamin, we studying for the bar here, Ace? What is going on? I don't know. What are you talking about? I got a lot going on. Faye, he could have been celebrating a win with his mom and some of his teammates, but we won't know until something happens or is posted, I guess. Yeah. Jay Snow, you weren't partying with your mom while at Rutgers. I wasn't partying with her, but I would go out with my mom to places. Definitely not bars though. At college, that is true. Like I went to some decent restaurants with her when I was in college. But he's probably with the hockey guys and stuff. Who the hell knows the circumstance? But either way, if you're a guy like that and you're well known, like I probably wouldn't even go in public, to be honest, because I feel like there's always going to be jackasses trying to goad you into something. And that could have been what happened here. The 5-star needs or Scotty need to come back. Man, if only, man. If only. 2 of the best to ever do it. 2 of the best defensemen to ever do it. We were so spoiled, and we had them simultaneously with the great Martin Brodeur. Jason says Fitz just tried to get Line A, that moron. I would have loved to know what the details around that were. Yasuo, Phoenix, Carbone, Super Red Sauce, their sister restaurant, The Grill, is crazy too. Oh, yeah, that food group, is it Major Food Group? They own a few other restaurants. I've heard they're very good. I would eventually like to try a couple of the others. I think one's like Terisi. My dog for GM Nemo will want out. We're stuck with the $9 million golden boy with the low hockey IQ. I think Luke is going to eventually be good. I do. John Fay just looked it up, says he was born in 07. Oh my God, makes me feel old, man. I was graduating college when this kid was born. B now, Ace, how long in advance did you make? So the way Carbone works, I'll tell you this. You have to go on either the app on your phone or the website Resy, R-E-S-Y, and every day they open up reservations for 30 days in advance. And they basically, actually, some of the lesser time slots don't book up right away, but within a couple hours, there's no time slots. But the good time slots that aren't either super early or super late book up immediately. So you have to have like lightning fast fingers as soon as they open up to book it. But it's always 30 days in advance. Every single day at 10 a.m. it opens up for 30 days in advance. And so I booked it 30 days in advance. That's how it works. Needs works for Anaheim. Justin says, Ace, enjoy all that food in Italy. I certainly will. Benjamin, I'm out. See you guys tomorrow night for the Plot hat trick. See you tomorrow. Jay Snow, McKenna makes NIL money. Yeah, I think he got paid like $750. Oh, B now knows. Carbone, 30 days in advance at 10 a.m. through the Resy app. Fills up super fast. Yeah, you got to be quick. And the night that I went was on a Friday, which obviously the weekends are more sought after than the weekdays. I was lucky to get a lunch spot there. Are you? Let's go. Are you in the house? Renditch, Stevens behind the bench would be a beaut for sure. Just don't want to be a J-Max scenario, so it's better as a dream. I'll take my chances. Bring in winners. Bring in proven winners and guys that care, and I'll take that. I'll take that risk any day. People are like, oh, even with Marty as a GM, like, oh, what if he's bad or whatever? Like, so be it then. So be it. It's a chance I'm willing to take. If you haven't hit the thumbs up yet, I mean, what are we waiting for, folks? Hit the thumbs up for your boy, please. I don't see how we're doing, but typically, you guys don't do it enough. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I would certainly appreciate your subscription. Every little subscriber helps. Every subscriber helps. Appreciate your subscription. Hit the notifications too if you're already subscribed, because you never know. I might just go, live out of nowhere, drop a video out of nowhere, and you don't want to miss it. I don't think. Maybe you do. Just hit the notifications. Justin says the world is full of jackasses. Yeah, you're not kidding. David S. I wonder if it'll be another 9-0. I guess that kick to the Isles tomorrow. I hope not. He was going to go to Montreal. Battle of Alberta never disappoints. It's always a good one. Jay Snow, Carbone, the guy from Goodfellas. Hit the like button. Thanks, Evan. Thank you. Brandon, doesn't make sense to me. We have a one-handed player in the first line. Timo hasn't produced. Brad isn't making plays. Why not break those guys up? They were broken up. The lines are constantly switched around. The State College, which is the town where Penn State is, PD just released a statement. McKenna was released on a $20K unsecured bail and has a preliminary hearing on February 11th. And the guy he struck, who was 21 years old, needed facial corrective surgery. Oof. Yeah, I think he doesn't do any time for this, obviously. And I don't think anything really happens other than he's going to have to pay a shitload of money. A shitload of money for this. This is going to cost him a lot of money. I think that's it. I don't know why. Yeah, if I was him in that scenario and I knew that, I'm a known guy and I'm going to be drafted in the league and all this stuff, I probably would have just told one of my buddies who I was with who doesn't have nearly the same to lose. I'd be like, bro, smash that jaw. I got you. 50 racks when I signed my contract. Go break that guy's jaw. B now, Terisi and Aldi Law, amazing restaurants, not as big as Carbone for famous people there, but food just as good or better. Terisi is owned by the owners of Carbone. Justin Smith, Ace, are going to watch any curling games at the Olympics? No, I'm only going to be going to the hockey games. unless by some unforeseen situation I end up going to another sport, but I don't think so because I do think all the other sports are much further away from Milan where I'm going to be, where the men's hockey games are. But I am going to try to go to some non-USA games as well. But I'm definitively going to all the USA games. I would like to catch a Switzerland game, obviously. I'd like to see Italy. I'd like to go to some others, but I'm doing a whole lot. And there's the schedule is kind of condensed. So myself and Travel and Devil are taking some day trips to other cities. So that'll wipe out a couple days. So there's not tons of time to do all this other stuff because I got to try all the pizza, all the pasta, all the gelato, see the sights, and go to all the games. So we'll see. But I don't think I'll be going to any other events. Rendich, what's the deal with not playing Timo on right wing? Pretty sure it was the same with Lindy as coach. Has to be a Timo preference thing, right? No, I think it's just the way the lineup falls, the way it all shakes out. He ends up on the left. But I do think for a stretch he played under Travis Green on the right side. Alex says, I think just a monetary thing. Hopefully no time. Yeah, that's what I think. David says, Brandon, do you watch the games? Keefe constantly shuffling the line combinations. John Fay, Hooked on Hockey Magazine, posted on Facebook about an hour ago. B now, you got to keep your cool in that moment. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I'm not about to be either the first or second overall pick in the NHL draft, so I would be like, I'm swinging. Jay Snow, where's the snowboarding and stuff? I think it's in another city, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it's in another city, and in an ideal world, I would love to go see other events as well while I'm out there. But just because of the amount of hockey games there are, all the other stuff I want to do in Italy, also with the fact that I'm going to be dropping vlogs and doing all this stuff, doing live streams after the games, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to do other stuff. It's going to be a pretty packed schedule with not a lot of sleep. I'm going to be running on espresso. My dog for GM, if you guys are in NYC, take a bus to Port Authority and then head to Tavola on 9th. They have best Italian food in that area with Peroni on tap. Tavola? Let's see. I'm looking at the menu. They got a lot of stuff I like. We have to check it out. Brandon, what's the organization's excuse for Timo on left wing on the same line in practice with Lamico? Who knows? Yeah, this is the Winter Olympics, man. Rendich, as far as a hockey player goes, would rather have a player you have to teach some restraint than try to teach some guys to be more aggressive? Yeah, of course you'd rather have a guy you have to teach restraint because that means they have that dog in them. They are a natural animal that you have to kind of reel in and kind of have them dial it back versus you. It's hard to, you can't really. So to some extent, I think you could influence killer instinct, but you either have it or you don't, and we don't have it. We absolutely don't have it. You see guys like Brady Tkachuk, he was born with it. When that switch flips, he's gone. Being outside, I heard snowboarding and thought skateboarding. Jay Snow, I'd want to see the dudes go off those really big jumps. Yeah, that'd be cool. B now, I almost broke my back snowboarding in Montana. Insane air moment. I don't know why they never put Timo on right wing. It's pretty bizarre. Jay Snow, too bad you're going to another cold place. Yeah, I would love to be on a beach, but this is the Winter Olympics. It's gonna feel like tropical compared to what it's been like in New Jersey. Today wasn't so bad, maybe the past couple days, but there was a stretch of a week and a half where it was viciously cold outside. Justin says USA will win the medal count. That's cool, but I'm only super focused on one medal, and that is the men's hockey. Thanks, Amagi. It's the 2000 Cup Final, Scotty Stevens. Subfail said, you're the GM. What realistic package would you accept for Jack and or Luke? I mean, from where? I mean, they both have injury history. The it's hard for me to even entertain this because it's never going to happen. And I do think in the end, there would never be a deal where you're winning. You're never winning a deal trading one of those guys. So I don't know why people still fantasize about it. It's not going to happen anytime soon anyway. Like, it's just not happening. We just have to root for them to continue to get better and hopefully be big parts of a team that could truly contend. But it starts with getting the right pieces around them. Brandon, I'm a bit worried. Timo is just a yes man and is afraid to stand up for himself. He just needs to tell Keefe to stay his right wing. It would be nice if he did that. It would be nice if he did that. He said, I think it was last year, that he didn't care, but it's like clearly you drive the right side every time. So excited for the Winter Olympics. Can't wait. My dog for GM, Boldy and Faber and Wallstead for Jack and Luke. Bro, you are high as a kite. Billy Guerin is never sending that package for them. You are nuts. You are nuts. That is a pipe dream. Yeah, B now says in my dreams, and I would say yes and yes. It's never happening. Moggs is guessing you talked about McKenna choosing prison over the Canucks. Yeah, I don't blame him. I would have done the same thing. Hopefully he doesn't get in real trouble for it, but it's going to be, it's probably going to cost him a lot of money at a minimum. He's probably going to have to pay them out. Rendit's just remembering terrible Devils moments. The game, that 5-minute boarding major, was watching a train crash slowly happening. That was brutal. As soon as it happened, I said the game's over. I just knew it. A sickening feeling came over me. When they called it, I was like, they just stole it from us early on, too. They're just going to put us out of our misery early. And that's pretty much what happened. Super unfortunate. Another one where if they could have won that game 6, I do believe the Devils would have won game 7 at home. I don't think there's any way they would have lost. I really don't. Yeah, the Wild would never agree to that trade. Totally agree. Well, you didn't have to clarify, Renditch. As soon as you said the 5-minute boarding, I knew exactly what you were talking about. Bungie, maybe we could bring Hall and Henry back to Jersey. Terrible idea. Love the players, but terrible idea. That ship is long gone for both of them as well. Jace noted the Devils realize hockey's a goal-scoring competition. They do, but they've been offensively just in a complete rut. My dog for GM, Garen, wouldn't even give us Boldy for Jack and Luke. I totally agree with you as well. Oh, no. I thought you were going to say Boldy and Faber. That was one people were throwing out. He might give you Boldy for the two of them. But the one I kept seeing regularly was Boldy and Faber for Jack and Luke. And I was like, you people are nuts. Brandon, people want to trade Jack. It's understandable. We need some players that will protect Jack, and players will be more hesitant to hit Jack. Maybe that will help Jack. Not sure, but makes sense to me. People are always going to key in on him. I mean, that's just part of the game. My screen just went crazy. Justin says 2009 versus the Hurricanes more heartbreaking than 2012. And it can never be more heartbreaking. It was more stunning that they melted down with 2 minutes left. Definitely more stunning, but I can never get as gutted over a first round ouster. I can never be as gutted over a first round ouster as a fail in the cup finals. The stakes are just so much higher. Like in the finals, that's rough. Subfails, I think Jack just was never coached properly and was always entitled. Kucherov, Kane, Marchand, Marty St. Louis, not comparing their careers, they were smaller players that played smart. It's a different world. The modern athlete, the modern hockey player, it's very different now. Garden State Hockey, I've played around with Puckpedia, kept the D-core together, minus Nemo, traded for Robert Thomas, Drew O'Connor, signed Lomborg and Greer, and have $800K in cap space. If only it was that easy. What did you trade for Robert Thomas and O'Connor? I love Lomborg. Brandon, I think Jack would be so amazing on a team entirely full of grit. But I think it would work out better for him there. They had grit last year and Jack got injured. They didn't really have grit up front, though. My dog for GM, Jack needs to hit the weight room this summer and get Nemo's trainer and commit to playing more than 65 to 70% of the games every year. My dog for GM, I'd love to have the Lamborghini on this team, but it ain't happening. No, I know. I would love it too. Man, remember when he whipped Bastion? He had him just pinned against the glass and was just wailing him. That was such a sad moment for Bastion. Garden State Hockey says Robert Thomas for a first, second, Mercer, Nemo, Casey. Oh my God. Would he really fetch that much? I mean, that seems like a lot. Being out, I'm afraid to watch tomorrow night's game. I'm not anymore. It's over. Life support is unplugged. It doesn't matter what happens anymore. Evan says none of your trade predictions will happen. Chat. Crazy Alex. Well, likely nothing is going to happen for a while since Fitz has the Olympics too, right? Yeah, but I don't know why everyone's saying like, oh, the Olympics, they're not going to fire him. Like, well, what is that? Like, that should have no bearing. Like, who cares if he's going to the Olympics? You can still fire his ass. Justin says Allen and net tomorrow, so it won't be 9-0. The asking price is insane for Thomas, so then don't pay it. Wait till something more reasonable comes around. Dougie for Rempe. Garden said he's a free agent, overpay a bit for Greer and Lomborg. It's just embarrassing. All right, folks, I'm going to the bathroom. I'm going to leave up an inspirational photo. I'll be right back 1 minute. We'll start winding it down. Throw out your thoughts, comments, questions. I'd like some suggestions. If you guys have any suggestions, throw it out there. I certainly look forward to it. I'll be back in 1 minute, and we'll start winding down. I'm not in a rush to get off right away, but to at least got to start slowly winding it down. Throw out what you guys got. What a day in Devils news, though, huh? Quite the day in Devils news. Be right back. What a photo. What a guy. What a guy. Amagi says, also going to UBS, just maybe really annoyed yet again how even when the Devils are hot, the Prue crowd is so lame compared to other teams. This has been a problem forever. I've said it. They're catering to a way more casual fan base. These people aren't leaving the games driving home pissed off if they lost. Like, I'm generally furious. And the degree to which I'm mad depends on how they lose and whatever. But I've left some games there steaming, like Dilly's 1,000th game against Columbus where he got cheap shot and then we just got our asses kicked all over the ice. Like, that was a brutal night. I was furious driving home. It was like, man, it affects me. But most of these people are like, the Devils lost. It is what it is. It's very casual fans. It was a more rabid fan base back at the old building, but that's more of the back in my day kind of stuff. But wow. John Fay says, Nemo doing something Jack never does, hitting the weights. He hit it hard. Garden State hockey, how much time do you get to talk to the players that sweep the deck? It's pretty laid back, man. Definitely the best event the Devils do. Like I've said before, highly recommended if you could pull it off. The tickets are very expensive. It does go to charity, but a lot of the players are just kind of meandering around, and you could definitely talk to them. It's definitely the most interaction in the best setting you're ever going to get, in my opinion. And I've interacted with, a million players over the years in a variety of different settings. But the sweep the deck is definitely the best, in my opinion. Faye, Nemo putting in the work and hours to get better and more fit physically. Yeah, and look how his season started. You can't convince me that it was a coincidence. He went beast mode in the summer and he had a great start to the season. Garden State hockey Prue crowd is all casuals. Used to be similar to how Isles fans are. I envy their crowds, rowdy and motivating. Yeah, they're watching a playoff team. John Fay, Prue crowd is dead. No life, no energy, no anything. Always has been. I don't know about always, but for the majority of it, I'd say it wasn't great. M. Sharp, I haven't gone to a game since opening day. My dog for jam, I really don't want to see Nemo leave this team. It'd be such a shame. I like the kid a lot. Jay Snow said, what did Jack's hand look like? He had it he had that hand in his pocket most of the night. He had it in his pocket. And he didn't have they must have told him not to wear the mitt or whatever. He didn't have it on, but it was in his pocket most of the night. Bungie Boris, it's wild, but I agree. I love the Devils, but I always tell people my favorite hockey games to go to are the Princeton games. Small venue, but it's all people who truly love hockey and care about the team. Aren't they doing very well this year? They were ranked, right? Jason, no, I'd trade Nemo for the right deal. I'd trade everybody for the right deal, my guy. No untouchables here. Everybody's available for the right price. Everybody is available for the right price. Faye, the only game I think had the most energy when Nemo scored the goal to tie the game against the Isles with 10 seconds left. Yeah, I was at that game. That was a good one. Nemo is still really weak net front, needs another big offseason. Yeah, he's going to learn. He's still super young, hasn't even played. I think he's at like 150-ish games played. Let me see. Yeah, 129 games played. Like not even, it's a season and a half. Like for a defenseman, a young defenseman, he's going to be very good. Crazy Alex says I wouldn't be able to keep my mouth shut about asking about Chicago. I'm not going to, you don't want to piss the guys off. Like that would have been, you never saw the hand. It was out of his, when I saw it, it was, he took it out of his pocket for a second. Like I wasn't going to grab his hand and like inspect it. So I didn't get a good look at it. Jay Snow, guy walked around all night with one hand out. What happened when he needed to shake hands? I don't think I saw that. He probably used the other hand. Justin says my fantasy hockey team is 16-1. That's very nice. Jay Snow, Luke's over 200 and still no improvements. Yeah, they take a while, man. People didn't want to believe the growing pains are real. They thought that we would skip all that just because he got paid $9 million. It's wild. Bungie men's team were ranked, I believe, 10 or 11 nationally for a few weeks in a row. Women's team just got moved up to 7 nationally in first place in the conference. Very nice. Evan, they do have the event every year. It's the best event by far. By far. If you haven't seen my vlog, check it out. I'll post the link in the chat again. I give you a pretty good look. Pretty good look at the setup, the vibe, the food. I show a good amount of stuff in there. Faye, if the season didn't go as bad and downward as it did since December, I'm sure the Peru crowd would be more lively and energetic. And that you also have to take that into consideration, right? Like where they are. But even at games when they were still in the mix, like I thought that the crowd was pretty bad. John Zarcone, do you think we need to retool or rebuild? I would hate to see us selling off major pieces like the Rangers, but it might be time. I still believe it's probably more. I still want to believe it could be a retool with a competent GM, which we do not have at the moment. But if someone is brought in from the outside, new eyes, no ties to any of these guys, no sentiment, no feelings, no anything, just come in and make the business decisions. I believe there's enough decent pieces here between guys you're keeping and whatever you could get in trade that the team should still be somewhat competitive. Maybe that is hopium, but I don't think it is. M Sharp Ace, did you see McAvoy get hit in the jaw tonight? I did not. Jello, it's me. Who could the Devils get to fix this team? Maybe not this season, but what moves could be made between now and October to make this team perform as well as everyone believes they can? You need a big shakeup. It involves definitely shipping out one of the core and bringing in, I would say, 2 impactful pieces, not these, depth bottom 6 guys, but maybe like a top 6 and a middle 6. And they got to be physical guys that could produce offensively and guys that play with snarl. We desperately need it. You see it every night. You need those guys to jumpstart your team and shock them back to life when there's lulls in the energy. And like last night, you just saw it. Guys on the bench looking around, looking like they were going to cry or that they were in church, one or the other. Lifeless, emotionless, you can't have it. He came back in the game. Okay. Evan said your vlog was awesome. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. John Fay says Fitz losing his job. I'm not so sure. I am not so sure. Justin says Fitz will be fired. A lot of you guys seem very sure of that, and I don't know how. I think it's 50-50, honestly. I hope it's the end, but if it's not, I'm not going to be surprised at all. Garden State Hockey sleeper GM picks Mark Janko or Scott White. Dallas assistant GMs getting to learn from Jim Nill. I think anything would be an improvement. The bar is low. Jello, it's me. Talking about Fitz losing his job. Fire him because he's making me upset as someone who isn't a Devils fan. What team are you a fan of? B, now this chat is so sure Fitz is fired. I had to search the internet or check. No news. He's not getting fired till after the season at earliest. And there's even a chance that even then that won't happen. I could see a world where he's brought back. What a wild time that would be. Imagine being able to be that bad at your job and keeping it for this long. I mean, this is quite a run. It really is impressive. And my dog for GM, I can't see Fitz being fired. These owners are checked out. Well, the thing that might give them a little push is if the attendance is bad for the rest of the year, which I suspect it will be. I don't think the attendance is going to be very good for the rest of the year. That in conjunction with missing the playoff revenue, that's a lot of money that could be missing. And I think it might finally be enough for them to be like, okay, well, we tried this. It didn't work out. You're now costing us money. Got to go. Got to go. Evan, would DeBoer be the right coach to get this team back on track with a new GM? I still think with a real roster, Keefe could be the guy. But if in a world that he's gone, DeBoer would certainly be on my short list, as would Tortorella. Tortorella would be my number one. And a lot of people will agree, a lot will disagree, but I've always wanted him from years ago. And I think we're now at a point where these guys can't be given any leeway and they have to be uncomfortable. The country club environment needs to be broken, and John Tortorella would certainly be a swift 360 from what they're used to. And I think it would break some of them, but that's fine. If you can't survive, then get shipped out. John Fay, Devils vs. Rangers this year is going to be battle the basement dwellers and battle for the bottom of the East. Isn't it so sad? And shame on the league for making the first game so far into the season. March 7th is the first time the Devils and Rangers play. I mean, it's a complete injustice to the fans. Like, what? You made us wait till March 7th, and now the game has no meaning outside of who's going to finish at the bottom. Completely insane. Like, why did they wait this long? It's brutal. Completely brutal, I think, an injustice to the fans, and the games have lost their luster now. I mean, it's still the Hudson River rivalry and could be cool, but nowhere near what it should have been. That game in October, November, December, even January would have had a much more significance. My dog for GM says Torts would be great for these softies. Jason, both teams are going to want to lose. They probably knew both us and the Rangers are going to be shit in this season. No, there's no way that anyone thought the Devils were going to be this bad. The season over before the Super Bowl, like, there's no way anyone thought that. Who could have predicted that? We were preseason cup favorites or in the top grouping. All right, it's late. We've been on here for a while. Be now. I'm fading. Work comes early. Stayed up too late last night. Yeah, I get it. All right, folks, that's it. It's midnight already. I thought I was going to have a night off. The New Jersey Devils had other ideas. Between the Jack nonsense and the Jack nonsense and the trade and all the talk around Keefe, they forced me on here. I wanted a night off. It did not happen. But I always enjoy talking to you guys. We always talk about a bunch of random stuff. It's always a good time. Yeah, Faye, 3 hours and 10 minutes. I think we wrap it up and prepare for that. Yeah. I'll be back tomorrow. What's going to happen against the Islanders? Everyone wants to see this breaking news. The Devils fire Tom Fitzgerald. One day that will happen. One day that will happen, and it will probably, I would have to imagine, when that live goes down, it will be a celebration. And it could be record numbers. It could be a record attendance day for the Tom Fitzgerald sayonara. It can't come soon enough. Be now. Good night, y'all. Thanks, Ace. I always appreciate the chat. Good talking to you. Be now. Take care. My dog for GM. Good show. Ace, as always, my man. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Hit the thumbs up for your boy on the way out if you have not. If you have not subscribed, please do so. I mean, what does it hurt you? It's nothing. You just hit the button. Hit the subscribe. If you're already subscribed and you don't have the notifications on, hit the notifications. Do it all. Hit the thumbs up on the way out. If you're not subscribed, hit subscribe. It's very simple stuff, folks. It's very simple stuff. Be back tomorrow night after the Islander game. Last game before the Olympic break. So much going on here, and the season that could have been. the season that could have been. Thank you all for watching. I love you all. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go Devils.